Warrior Lore. Chapter 989. Playing with Fire. Chapter 989. Playing with Fire. Proofreader. Papatonks. Keeping that look for a few moments longer, Elderly was having trouble reacting. Only later did he turn a stiff head to Executive Chow with an eye twitch. Little Chow, are you sure it's a spy? I guess. Guess your pea-brain. Pa. Elderly smacked him real hard as he cursed. In the name of all that's holy, are you trying to get me killed as well? What spy out there has such power, erasing 50 Genesis experts off this heaven's green earth? She has to be a peak Genesis stage at the minimum. And you came to me without even knowing her strength? Now you got me suffering the same thing you have by losing so many men. Elderly growled, and Executive Chow only made himself small and winced under the verbal assault, proclaiming his innocence in his mind. It wasn't me who found the spy, but Chin Fan who told me that a dozen soul harmony stage cultivators scared her off. But now things went from bad to worse. First the loss of 50 soul harmony experts, and now another loss of 50 experts, but a stage above that with such a hole in their mismanagement record. The two had no way of covering or straightening it up. Best find help. Executive Chow lowered his head in silence. He hardly had any power as an executive to get this disaster handled, and could only sit there like a statue and listen to the other. Elderly was so tense and vexed under this problem, he was stomping all over the room, sometimes glaring at the trembling Executive Chow, though this was no time to vent. He needed something to make those losses look necessary, not just that they were sent out to die. After long moments of furious thinking, Elderly took a deep breath and walked outside. Follow me. Executive Chow rushed along like a meek puppy in a room filled with the intoxicating smell of all kinds of pills. A white-haired old man with a valiant face and shocked eyes shouted, "Is what you're saying true? To lose so many men, then the person must be incredible." "Yes, Venerable Ma. He has to be a crucial member and not just a simple spy." Elderly bowed next to him with a bright look, like a good devil on his shoulder. "He must have a special mission coming into northern lands. We have indeed suffered many losses, but all we have to do is capture him, and it will become our greatest achievement in the northern lands. It won't stop at just our sect leader, or the other 4 sects, but will even earn the respect of the other lands in our alliance. Venerable Ma, you are one of the 10 high venerables in our sect, but by pulling such a feat we'll send you into the top 3. Venerable Ma was silent, putting pressure on Executive Chow, and feeling the need to speak up to drag him into this. Yes, Elderly is right. This is a chance of a lifetime, and letting it slip by would only leave other venerables to take advantage of it. Please make a quick decision, Venerable Ma. While it does sound nice, I fear she's already at peak in strength and can't be handled. Venerable Ma frowned, pensive. A cautious and weary man. Elderly egged on. Fortune favors the bold, Venerable Ma. She's just a peak Genesis expert. It would be very simple for you to have her tied and brought back, especially with 10 other peak venerables. 10 against 1 at the same cultivation is bound to result in a win. The only risk that could ever pose this operation is if she detonated. Your words do make sense. Mulling it over some more, Venerable Ma's interest grew, but not enough. But if she isn't just a peak expert, and instead one of Central Area's 9 Sword Kings? Elderly dismissed his worries with a wave. Venerable Ma, you're overthinking things. Why so low-key if she were a real Sword King? Why sneak around behind a caravan? I believe she doesn't want us to discover her since she can't take on our sect. That's unlike how an arrogant and obnoxious Sword King acts. Venerable Ma, there's no need to worry so much. Just get her captured. Venerable Ma thought it over some more and then nodded. Wait here. I will invite some venerables to help capture this Central Area spy, for our sect's glory. Venerable Ma flicked his sleeve and stormed out the door. The other 2 bowed. Congratulations, Venerable Ma, on your success in becoming a top 3 venerable. Venerable Ma was gone soon, and the duo sighed. Damn it, giving the credit to another again. Yeah, Executive Chow mumbled. Elderly's face fell and smacked him again. Yeah, my ass. Damn useless fool. Come, we need to wait at the entrance to congratulate Venerable Ma when he arrives. Elderly, congratulate. That's enough out of you. You still want a bit after all this? You can't have your cake and eat it too. Be thankful if we even get some crumbs. At the very least, we're the ones who supplied this intel. Elder Li's brow shook, glaring hard at him and mocking. If we can't even do something as simple as that, we might not even get the crumbs, that old coot swallowing it whole. You might be fine with that, but not I, humph. Elder Li flicked his sleeve and left. Executive Chow needed time before finally exclaiming and rushing after him. Of course, with such a big fish, there's bound to be some leftovers. Ha. The two credit-stealing old men braved the biting winds, the icy snow pelting their skin, waiting with such bravery before the sect's entrance, to sing the 10 venerables' praises upon their return, sucking up to them for even a wee bit of reward, though reality seldom conformed to people's wishes. As luck would have it, they were up against a mountain so hard, nothing they threw at it put a dent in it. They had been waiting for a full hour before the barrier to the sect opened and the two elders lit up, fixing their clothes for their greatest performance, yet what welcomed them was the most familiar and elderly excited Venerable Ma. On his mission to catch the spy, the Venerable, however, didn't look so perky at the elders though. Judging by his ruined clothes, his wretched and panicked return, it was anything but joy among the countless thoughts that ran through his head. Venerable Ma, you? Elderly began with an expected look. Did you get her? Venerable Ma dished out 2 heavy smacks on both of them, throwing them off their feet. He did not forget to curse either. You have the nerve to show your faces to me? Screw you and all your kin. Truly, there's no one setting you up to fail more than your own dumb people. You came to me to get the spy without even having a clear picture with what we're dealing here? I ought to strangle you here and now. Venerableums. You don't mean to say even you failed? Elderly gasped in shock. The sudden warping of the Sun Sea sect's barrier, and its subsequent explosion, cut off his voice with the vanishing of the barrier. What appeared before them was the picture of grace in the form of a delicate woman yet bearing cold eyes, her fine features in a mask of anger. Venerable Ma fled without any hesitation, wanting nothing to do with this broad whoosh. Thousands of people landed just then, as the experts of Sun Sea sect showed to fight off the invader, unleashing all their power unto the woman she hardly cared, though, her icy gaze fixed on the frightened Venerable Ma. She was out for blood. Thump. Clear and resounding steps echoed as a middle-aged man in a fancy robe walked before the crowd, glaring at the woman. I am the sect leader of Sun Sea sect, Bu Xingyun. Who are you, miss? Do you not fear death? Bu Xingyun of Sun Sea sect? Humph. The woman mocked him. You've got quite the apt name for your situation, unlucky. I have a bone to pick with that brat, and have been following his caravan. I have no relationship whatsoever with any of you. Yet why the hell do you pester me time and time again? Buzzing around like flies is starting to piss me off, even if you don't. So might as well finish you all off and end this incessant pestering. Smiley face, it's a pun. His name sounds just like the characters for unlucky. Bu Xingyun frowned and jeered. Finish off my sect? You talk a big game. Just who do you think you are, miss? Cease your boasting before you earn everyone's ridicule. The men started laughing in disdain. Only Venerable Ma shuddered in his spot. Chapter 990, Meeting. Chapter 990, Meeting. Proofreader, Papatonks. Who am I? Giving a charming smile, the woman darted her eyes to the fearful Venerable Ma and mocked. You don't even know who I am, and yet you sent people after me? You guys won't get very far in life with that attitude. Now listen up and listen good. I am Frigid Rain Sword King Bali Yuyu, personally appointed by the Patriarch of the Central Area's Sword Star Empire. A Sword King? Everyone gasped in shock, shivering and watching her with fear in their eyes. Elderly and Executive Chow were dumbstruck. The big fish spy from the Central Area they wanted to step over in their glorious career turned out to be one of the 9 Sword Kings. Who knew? At least it explained why all the men they sent died. Nothing good ever came when dealing with the 9 Sword Kings. Sure, they were big fishies indeed, beyond anything they could fathom, but still not enough for even their whole sect to catch. Bu Xingyun's face twitched and he choked. He gulped hard, his heart racing, and snapped in anger. For God's sake, who the hell was the bastard that brought a Sword King over? Show yourself this instant. Venerable Ma stood up in tears and pain. Oh, so it's you, old man, Bu Xingyun growled. wishing nothing more than to end him then, and there the Venerable was quick to get his wits about him, cupping his hands. Sect leader, please wait. It wasn't just me, Venerable whipped his head on Elderly, slapping him hard and cursing, damn bastard. What are you doing inciting a sword king? You had so many of our brothers killed. Venerable Ma, sect leader, Elderly's lips shook, feeling victimized. Then it was his turn to give a smack, to Executive Chow this time, leaving a red print. You good-for-nothing fool. You killed all those Genesis and Soul Harmony experts. Just why have you messed with the Sword King? Executive Chow choked from the tears. Sect leader, Venerable Ma, Elderly, the intel was faulty. It's not me, but the Qin clans, Executive Chow was looking for a scapegoat. Too bad Zhua Fan was long gone, leaving him all alone to take this monumental responsibility for this disaster. All he could do was pull a wrong face and explain. A Qin steward told me about this, so I went to capture the Central Area's agent. I didn't know it's a Sword King. Screw you. You actually went and believed some flimsy rumor without vetting it first? You're just asking to be killed. Bu Xingyun cursed louder. Then he bowed to Bali Yuyu at once. Frigid Rain Snow King. This is a total misunderstanding born from these mutts' idiotic belief in hearsay. You're free to punish them as you like. Northern lands and Central have yet to wage war. We're only getting ready for it and not starting it. Would you please go someplace else and keep the peace? Bali Yu snickered, filled with disdain. Bu Xingyun, you have some nerve. While both sides are about to wage war, you're going for peace. How come? Ha ha ha. Isn't the issue of the two sides because of Ouying Lingtian of Seabright sect? We have nothing against with your great empire. Spineless coward. Bali Yuyu's eyes shone and spat. You're one of Northern Land's 5 sects, and yet when the enemy is barging in your home, you only think of hiding in a corner. Where's your dignity, your honor in fighting off the invader? You're the exact opposite of that radiant stage brat, who at least had the nerve to argue with me. While you, oh big sect, have no bone in your back. Humph, you're nothing but garbage. I think I ought to do Northern Lands a favor by doing some spring cleaning. Ouying Lingtian might even thank me for it. Ha. Bu Xingyun's fave went cold. I take it then that Miss doesn't want to leave? Take a guess, genius. Humph. Then my Sun Sea sect can no longer back down. Bu Xingyun barked. Bali Yuyu, I know your 9 Sword Kings are great, but don't think our sect is any weaker. We have hundreds of Genesis experts, with 100 at peak stage. Not even you alone can face such numbers without consequences. You're just a peak Genesis expert anyway. Bali Yuyu rose an eyebrow, mocking. Would you like to test that theory? Bali Yuyu's face hardened, and the constant snowstorm halted then and there. The skies slipped next with the crack of a silver lightning. Sword energy flared and sent sword waves cutting the air, ripping everything in their path. The snow that dominated the skies so far has turned into a storm of silver, with silver sword waves in every direction. One looked like expected. Whatever the waves touched, it ceased to exist, making Bali Yuyu the overlord of this world. With none escaping from her grasp, everyone shuddered from fear and chill. Sun Sea sects, tens upon tens of thousands strong, were nothing but bugs for this woman to squash. At her whim and mercy, Bali Yuyu roared and unleashed all his power at her, with all the other Genesis experts doing the same. Ready to die, the heavens were filled with silver waves while the ground was soaked in yuan qi. The collision resulted into a hellscape, shaking everything around them. Zhua Fan's carriage was rushing through the snow still, watching at the bizarre event in the sky. He could even see how the air warped, shocking his men. Zhua Fan hardly watched out the window, but this time even he was stunned at such power. A Genesis stage expert can wield the power of the world. In a battle between cultivators at this stage, it's all about fighting for control of said power. Bali Yuyu alone, in this case, has the skies on her side, pushing down on all of Sun Sea sect. They don't have room to breathe, much less use the world's power to fight back. The 9 Sword Kings are as strong as they say. The other men nodded solemnly. The 9 Sword Kings can destroy sects by themselves. Huh. Their amazement was short-lived as their spiritual beast pulling the carriage roared and stopped. It was so sudden, it almost threw its passengers off their feet once at full stop. One guard looked out the window, then said to Zhuofan, "Sir, there. Here it comes, ha ha ha." Grinning, Zhuofan knew this was a long time coming, unfazed by it as he watched the 10 or so people outside standing before their carriage. The one in the lead was a 3-meter-tall old man, while the rest keeping a respectful stance behind. One guard frowned. "Who are they? What do they want? Who we've been waiting for to show up?" Holding Chower's hand, Zhuofan took a deep breath and got out the carriage. He regarded the tough old man with glinting eyes. "Invincible sword Bailey Yuntian, we meet at last." "What?" The guard gasped in shock. "That's the best in all the lands? What the hell is he doing here of all places? Why us?" They were still incredulous about this development, with Zhuofan smiling while pointing at the old man's team. "Take a good look around him." The others were frozen in place at the realization Bali Yuyu's silver waves had been spreading for hundreds of miles from the Sun-Sea sect. Yet only the space around the old man was still tranquil. It was like the border of two worlds, cutting off the ravenous storm outside from the peace within. "I reckon there's only Bailey Yuntian on this earth that can overcome a sword king's power and not letting the world power be disturbed in any way." Looking above, Zhuofan smiled and pulled Chower. As he walked to Bailey Yuntian without a care, the old man waited for him with a deep gaze whoosh. But then, among Bailey Yuntian's team, one shot for Zhuofan, bent on murder and rage. Chapter 991. Invincible. Chapter 991. Invincible. Proofreader. Papatonks. Bailey clan high profound ranked martial art, space-rending sword. The opponent was a 6th-layer soul harmony stage youth with a fierce gaze, unleashing his most prized art at full force. All that power, put on display just to trample a measly 3rd-layer radiant stage cultivator. The guards cried out, "Sir?" Bailey Yuntian's team were nonplussed, watching from the sidelines on how this turned out. There was not even a twitch as the Bailey clan picked on the weak. No shame whatsoever anywhere else. A soul harmony cultivator went against a radiant stage cultivator like this. He'd only be ridiculed even if he won, but since such a despicable act was done today and right before their Patriarch, the answer to why was quite simple. A test. Bailey Yuntian wanted to test Devil Mountain and its overlord, to see if it was worthy of fighting it himself. This measly radiant stage cultivator had to just survive this deadly ordeal, and Bailey Yuntian was going to fight Devil Mountain's overlord one-on-one with the disciple so ungodly. The master couldn't be that far behind either if the outcome would be the end of Zhuofan out of this. Then Devil Mountain's overlord was just an overblown rumor. Or that Zhuofan was a fake disciple. He only got what was coming to him for even having the gall to trick the likes of Bailey Yuntian, and so the Bailey clan simply watched the attack of one of their juniors unfold. Zhuofan figured it out from the start as well, smirking and walking onward with Chower like he was on a stroll, with sword and man becoming one and heavy lightning crackling in the sky. The man wielding the power of a divine sword flashed in his face and shot his fingers at Zhuofan's head. Even as the target simply smiled, Bailey Yuntian shifted, looking disappointed. "So this is all the Devil Mountain amounts to. The disciple is but a common cultivator." Whoosh! Against the Crown Prince's awe-inspiring sword attack, Zhuofan didn't budge, but someone else did. Devil Mountain's low, profound ranked martial art, Thunder Phoenix Claw. A sharp cry echoed in everyone's ears, and the Crown Prince's sword attack was moments away from touching Zhuofan's head, even giving him a slight headache from all that power. When a purple thunder claw came out of nowhere, it grabbed his wrist and shifted aside, making all that power hit nothing but air as the attacker even rolled 3 times in the air before crashing into the ground in a cloud of dust. Not only the guards, but even Bailey Yuntian was shocked at the sudden development. The Crown Prince was eating dirt on the ground, with the wee girl Zhuofan was holding before, now standing on him. Her cute and tiny hand was holding the Crown Prince's spine in a vice, fine flashes of purple running through it and into the prince and holding him nice and paralyzed, prevented from even releasing his soul. Everyone was dumbstruck. Along with Invincible sword and the Sword Kings, this little girl wasn't quite at peak power, but even as a 7-year-old, to handle a core member the Bailey clan carefully groomed with such ease was simply insane. Anyone would think a girl her age wasn't even weaned. But to the Bailey clan, such age would need them to be at the bone-tempering stage at the least. Yet that girl right there handled a soul harmony expert like nothing. If that wasn't ungodly, what was? Was Devil Mountain filled with such monsters? then our clan has long since lost first place in the world. We're nothing but ants to Devil Mountain's disciples. Bailey Yuntian squinted, worried for the first time in millennia as he began to question his strength. Am I really invincible on this wide green earth? Ah! The Crown Prince shrieked under Chower's purple lightning as it seared his bones. He held it in for as long as he could, not wanting Patriarch to see him being weak and earn his ire for shaming the clan, but the purple lightning was just too outrageous to begin with. Coupled with the Bailey clan learning the Sundering Sword's art, mutually exclusive with the purple lightning, the pain was just that unbearable. In mere moments, he was screaming like a banshee. Bailey clansman frowned, thinking of helping but never moving without Patriarch's word. Chower giggled as she tapped his head. This is but a taste of what I can do. This is for trying to touch my father. Chower. Claw ramped up to a third of her power, and the Crown Prince shrieked harder. Chower. Zhuofan glanced over. Let him go? Chower paused and nodded, bowing to him. Yes, father. She returned to his side, leaving the unsuccessful Crown Prince in his attempt, still groaning on the ground after trying to get his feet under him only to stumble again. Chower covered her giggle, while Bailey Yuntian was looking very dark, hinting Bailey Yulei to get the useless fool back before he made them look even worse. Bailey Yuntian stared at Zhuofan now and gave a light cup of his hands. I've long heard of Devil Mountain's resounding reputation, and now that I see it for myself, I can say for certain it is beyond imagination with how even a 7-year-old girl can wield such power. Sword Patriarch is too kind. Bailey clan skills have given me a newfound respect for it. Wielding such a sharp sword art is unheard of in the mortal domain. It's all thanks to the girl here that I got to keep my head. Although, Zhuofan turned to Chower. Chower, you were still slow there. Do you see the mark on my forehead? We'll resume training when we get back. Chower pouted and bowed. Yes, father. Bailey Yuntian's face twitched, his heart in anger. The punk knows how to talk. First praising the Bailey clan's skills, then chiding his daughter for lack of training. This was a clear disregard to all of them. A child just got a Bailey disciple thrashed in one strike, yet he was calling that slow, saying more training needed? If that wasn't disdain, what was? Rotten punk, that's my line. I never thought the day would come I'll have it used against me. God damn it. Annoyed to no end for being served, Bailey Yuntian had no choice but to bottle it in till now he was strongest. He mocked the most since no one could do anything about it anyway. But now that Devil Mountain, a fresh and unknown faction, came out of the woodwork, he was left not wanting to get on their bad side. Not until he knew the full extent of their power. He had been cocky and strong his whole life. But this invincible sword wasn't so blind from pride as to throw reason out the window and look back in anger. One other reason he didn't let anger get the best of him was Zhuofan. He just couldn't see through him. Even after all the testing he did, first with Bali Yuyu, and now himself, he faced everything with unshakable calm. He first wrote it off as being the attitude of the strong, but his thinking had now changed. Maybe he doesn't fear the 9 Sword Kings at all, not even me. Since a child from Devil Mountain was that strong, what then of the father? What of the overlord? Invincible Sword felt sweat trickle down his brow for the first time in eons. His expression hard. It was fear from overthinking. From big to small, anyone from Devil Mountain wasn't to be messed with. He got so used to having his way, even disregarding the good of the Empire for a moment of joy. In other words, he always got what he wanted when he wanted. The Empire could crumble for all he cared. He could just make another one, but in regard to Devil Mountain, he was feeling scared, like it was the end to his invincibility. Bailey Yuntian was pensive for a long time, making the faces of the rest of them to sink. They had never seen their patriarch hesitating. Zhuofan's eyes shone, grinning to himself. I finally got to shock and awe the old man with Chower. Now it's time to have an equal, no, overbearing negotiation. I can't just have Central Area's invaders show up in northern lands and ruin everything I'm after. Humph? Chapter 992. Sword Patriarch's Fury. Chapter 992. Sword Patriarch's Fury. Proofreader. Papatonks. Devil Mountain has some harsh requirements, I see. Your daughter's attack was excellent, but Sir is still so harsh. Bailey Yuntian gave Zhuofan a long look, assessing him, Before speaking with a smile, Zhuofan gave a dismissive wave. Sword Patriarch, you don't have to joke. A child only cares about making it passable, regardless of flaws. Education starts from a young age if one wants to straighten her character. This is the only way to remove any laziness and make sure she overtakes her peers. A little devil like that has tons of peers in Devil Mountain? Bailey Yuntian's mouth twitched, his heart sinking. The others' brows shook as well, their eyes widening. Just how huge is this sect? Do these little monsters come in bulk, or what? Everyone there felt a chill down their spines, even Bailey Yuntian and his Sword Kings. It was a downright miracle for a clan or sect to have a monster, but to come out in droves? That was a disaster. The world would come to an end. There was only one invincible sword in the Five Lands, but in Devil Mountain, it seemed to be countless invincible figures. And the more there were of one thing, the lower the title's value. Invincible Sword frowned, as he became more distraught the further he talked with Zhuofan. But his curiosity to know everything was still there, forcing himself to smile to look as casual as he could muster. His stance, however, was no longer as dominating as usual, but amiable and chatty. I'm truly amazed with how many talents Devil Mountain has. Bailey Yuntian gave a firm salute, this time, as he cupped his hands, watching Zhuofan with a sharp glint. How may I address Sir? What matters have brought Sir here, to Northern Lands Outback? Glancing over as he returned the salute, Zhuofan's tone showed no inflection. Sword Patriarch is too kind. I've already stated my name the last time I bumped into your nation's frigid rain Sword King. It's merely Qianfan. I'm sure you've heard of it by now. As for why I'm in Northern Lands, ha ha ha, it has nothing to do with you whatsoever. Patriarch can relax. I find it hard to believe Sir's name to be real, not after becoming Qian's steward right after coming out of Devil Mountain. Bailey Yuntian squinted. I won't be able to sleep well either, not knowing Sir's real reason for coming here. You might be against my people for all I know. As Devil Mountain has shown itself in Western Lands, I have to be on guard. Bailey Yuntian gave Zhuofan a firm salute, holding as much courtesy as demand. Sir, I ask that you help in easing my worries and not lead to any friction to happen between us two. Isn't Devil Mountain's age-long absence from the Five Lands matters proof enough? Zhuofan gave off an ineffable feeling with his casual demeanor. Sword Patriarch need only worry about his matters. So long as you don't disturb us, each will go their own way. Farewell. Zhuofan nodded and pulled Shower back to the carriage. Bailey Yuntian wasn't finished. Cupping his fist so hard he unleashed a tremendous aura upon the world, ringing the ears of the Soul Harmony Guards and making their hearts race. As for the third-level spiritual beasts, they were so scared they collapsed on the spot and shivered like leaves pausing. Zhuofan's eyes grew cold as he spoke. What's this about, Sword Patriarch? Nothing much. I just feel awful that by not knowing your great sect's goal here, it will cause a misunderstanding between our factions from which neither can recover. I just want to be clear on this, in consideration to everyone's situation. Bailey Yuntian stared at Zhuofan's back, waiting for his reaction. He needed to know Devil Mountain's aim, and wouldn't have no for an answer. It was imperative to know whether they were against them, or just passing by. It just didn't sit right knowing there was such a strong force out there that might just step in when their situation was dire and make them lose everything they worked for. Invincible Sword's grand unification plan had simmered for so long now, and this time there was a high chance of success in one fell swoop. The slightest discrepancy from his goal had to be thoroughly removed. Not to mention, he needed to figure Zhuofan out. The kid was incredible, so the father couldn't be far behind either, but it still paid to know the details. For the next time he would have to deal with Devil Mountain, he wouldn't be plagued with so many unknowns. His clasping hands were done harshly on the surface, to crush stones and the earth, but hid a softness within that didn't even hurt a fly, a calculative and subtle intent for a 10,000-year-old monster. He had gone beyond being a martial fanatic, having gained a shrewder side over the ages. Zhuofan took a deep breath and nodded. Indeed, Sword Patriarch is undoubtedly right in this point. Devil Mountain doesn't want anyone to disturb us in this affair either. Ha ha ha, Sword Patriarch, you can relax knowing that our aim isn't the same as yours. You who want to unify the lands and take the 5 divine weapons. We are only after one thing, North Sea Demon. The North Sea Demon? Bailey Yuntian and the four Sword Kings gasped. That same demon had wiped the floor with the best in northern lands, Ouyang Lingtian, on the same level as a Sword King. What made it worse? The demon did it in one blow too. Bailey Yuntian believed it would be a hard battle even for him. By having fought with Ouyang Lingtian several times already, he had an idea where to place the Sea Demon, thus his current judgment. The 9 Sword Kings were nothing to him, but they could hold on for 5 hits at least, 10 for the most promising ones. The fact the Sea Demon beat up someone of that caliber in one strike showed just how strong it really was. Sure, 5 hits or 1 hit might sound semantics to the average man, but this slight difference belied the outrageous gap in strength. The 5 moves for the 9 Sword Kings was the utmost limit to Invincible Sword, one that he strove to improve despite the toil it entailed. Yet that Sea Demon could do it in one from the start. That was just insane. This meant the battle was over before it began. Like a 3-year-old meeting the demon, finished in one move. And the same applied to Profound Heaven Stage, Radiant Stage, as well as the 9 Sword Kings. Maybe even Invincible Sword would be lumped in, as well. The first move was insurmountable by all appearances. Only by overcoming this trial, one could finally gauge the Sea Demon's strength. While Invincible Sword already felt confident he could do it, so he had come here with the intent to have a go at the demon, to see where he was, what he was missing and where he could improve. But now Zhuo Fan just stated the Sea Demon as his goal, stunning Invincible Sword, asking in haste, "Sir's aim is the Sea Demon. What are you going to do? Subdue him?" Zhuo Fan had no qualms about blurting out this huge lie, since there was no harm in talking big. The fact he said it with a straight face only made it more believable by everyone there. Looking at him like he grew a second head, Invincible Sword gasped, "Subdue? But he is a monster that beat Ouyang Lingtian. Why can you do what he couldn't?" "Why?" Zhuo Fan smirked. "Because we're Devil Mountain." Zhuo Fan held shower as he walked to his carriage, leaving Invincible Sword dumbstruck. Is Devil Mountain that great? Have they reached such a level that they can deal with the savage Sea Demon like nothing for him to be so casual about it? Invincible Sword's eyes shook, feeling against this outcome, shouting, "Wait." Zhuo Fan paused once more, turning his head around, and saw Invincible Sword's anger on his face. "What is it, Sword Patriarch? Is there something else you need?" "Everyone knows of the North Sea Demon's savagery, and even I have reservations of meeting him." Bailey Yuntian's eyes shone as his face was cold, releasing his aura to the extent the world dimmed, as purple lightning crackled now and then. "Judging how light Sir is taking this endeavor, it must mean it's just that easy for you. It is hard for me to accept this outcome. Since Sir has such ability, why not letting me have a try first?" The thunder rumbled louder now as the sky took a purple hue with purple sword energy flashing all over. Bailey Yuntian's bloodthirst spiked, making the air shimmer and giving the feeling the world was ready to be torn apart. Bailey Yu's ever-present silver energy up till now was gone in a blink. Swallowed by these devastating purple flashes, Invincible Sword finally struck with unspeakable might. He had dominated the world's power, giving nothing for even the 9 Sword Kings to grasp. This was the berserk power of the one called Invincible Sword, the best in the lands. Everyone gasped, with the Sword Kings falling back to avoid the stray lightning. Their Patriarch was about to fight. The guards, however, were scared witless, cowering in the corner of the carriage, while the dozen third-level spiritual beasts closed their eyes hard, not daring to even look. Zhuo Fan and his daughter were the only ones unfazed by the old man's show of force, yet their eyes spoke of the chill inside, as if he was a dead man. Chapter 993. To each his own. Chapter 993. To each his own. Proofreader. Papatonks. The cold eyes of Bailey Yuntian bore into the calm face not far from him, unleashing the rage and power of an undefeated war god, of a being no one could oppose. Zhuo Fan simply stood in the savage winds with a flat look and eyes so dead one might think nothing held any value to him. It cut this undefeated old man through the fury and to the bone. What's this supposed to mean? Is my strength that disparaging to him? Or is it that he doesn't believe that I could deal with him? Is that why there's no fear? Bailey Yuntian's firm resolve began to quiver in hesitation. Think it through, Sword Patriarch. Zhuofan's dull tone sounded in his ears. By order of Master, we've come for the sea demon to take it back to the sect and watch the door and not get involved in the secular world's problems or your nation's affairs. But Sword Patriarch is making it increasingly harder for us to do so. Bailey Yuntian's brow shook, his heart a mess. You're after the sea demon to watch over the entrance? Zhuofan boasted even bigger. If Sword Patriarch still feels the need to go on his course, then we will be forced to wipe you and your team for the sake of our mission. Wipe? Bailey Yuntian's ego was once again pricked, sneering. You talk a big game. Devil Mountain might be filled with experts, but my clan isn't a pushover. Here, before you, are my clan's strongest. How are you going to wipe them? Zhuofan took a deep breath, then sighed in disappointment. You poor ignorant mortals, utterly blind to the vastness this world has. I had some hope for you, who stand at the top of the mortal domain, expecting you to at least glimpse into the truth, but you just proved to me how utterly clueless you are of your inferiority, and with such arrogance too, Devil Mountain will remove you to the last one. No exceptions, the same way it did with the 5 sects in Western lands. It is hard by myself to get you all, so I will just have to use the treasure Master left me. It was meant for the North Sea Demon and would be a bit of a waste using it on you. But since mortals are so ignorant they insist on damning themselves. Zhuofan held out his hand and the thunder ring flickered, releasing an aura of dread and horror. Ready to unleash apocalypse, Bailey Yuntian's heart jumped. His brow soaked. He knew next to nothing about Devil Mountain's power, and this unknown made it all the more terrifying to him. Further amplified through Zhuofan's casual act and the 7-year-old girl's insane strength for the first time. This unrestrained, invincible sword felt utter regret. He had been too impulsive, letting anger get the best of him because of his wounded pride. The fact that this man before him had something that could deal with the sea demon, then using it on his group couldn't be easier, especially since the man said that it could wipe them all out. Bailey Yuntian was sweating buckets, with his sword kings looking grave and scared as they staggered backward. They now had another figure to fear besides the invincible sword, and he unleashed his power on them. Invincible sword, Bailey Yuntian, it was nice knowing you. While at last, Zhuofan regarded him with dead eyes as his ring shone in a golden curtain of light. Unleashing its scorching heat, Bailey Yuntian was frantic in stopping him. Wait, hold on. Why? Does Sword Patriarch have any last words? By peak of mortal domain, did you mean there's something beyond the Genesis stage? Bailey Yuntian stared hard at him, smiling. Zhuofan nodded. Of course, from mortality through spirituality, imperial, saintly, and sovereignty, the 5 realms of rebirth. Reaching the Genesis stage, starting from birth, will only comprise the mortal realm or domain. By going beyond this stage, can you shed the mortal coil and into the Spirit King stage, wielding the power of the skies and having endless lifespan, casting away the 5 declines of heaven and man's sickness and aging will no longer plague, only divine tribulation. And this is but the first and meager step on the path of true cultivation. And by stepping into the sovereign stage, you shall be immortal, undying, and indestructible. Those reaching such fabled, profound cultivation have been few and far in between. Smiley face, it refers to a concept from Buddhist philosophy, the 5 realms of existence in the cycle of rebirth or samsara. Each realm is associated with a particular type of existence and level of consciousness. The realm of gods, heaven, realm of humans, realm of animals, realm of hungry ghosts, and the realm of hell. There's a stage that high? Bailey Yuntian shuddered at the news. While the other Sword Kings were left speechless, Zhuofan chuckled. Sword Patriarch, anything else you'd like to ask? No? Let's continue. Hold on. Bailey Yuntian waved his hands around once again. Having heard such a huge secret, his usually dead heart throbbed in his chest, his eyes eager. What is Devil Mountain? Does it have people that have overcome the mortal domain? Zhuofan shook his head. That's a secret and can't tell you. But since you're about to die, it won't make a difference. Zhuofan mocked. Bailey Yuntian hesitated before withdrawing his aura with a shake of his head. I see that Sword Patriarch wishes to live long enough to find his own answer. Zhuofan nodded and put down his arm, the ring's glow fading. Though let me give you a piece of advice. When you're probing for answers, tread lightly, as some things are better left alone. Just like the sea demon, needing power beyond the mortal domain to be reined in. You're best avoiding him. Bailey Yuntian sighed and bowed. Thank you, sir, for the advice. I shall. I only came here for the heaven-sealing sword, and have no intention of offending the demon. When the day comes that I understand the sword path enough to overcome the mortal domain, I hope to pay Devil Mountain a visit. May I have the honor of seeing your overlord? Fate will decide. Zhua Fan smiled. Devil Mountain's disciples roamed the world to train, before returning to the mountain and inheriting Master's legacy. If Sword Patriarch comes across another disciple the next time, you may have the chance of peering into the sect. Bailey Yuntian looked downcast but nodded with cupped hands. Devil Mountain's disciples go into the world to learn and don't meddle in the mortal's affairs. Not to mention, sir, said to have come for the sea demon. To each his own, right? Bailey Yulei's heart sank as he looked at Bailey Yuntian, but lowered his head. While it looked like an agreement, it was more of a request, one coming from the land's strongest invincible sword. This would have never happened ever. Bailey Yuntian was a man of immense pride, however. Here and now, the Devil Mountain proved to be of such uncanny might and had people that have gone beyond the realm of mortals. It came at no surprise for Bailey Yuntian to take the initiative to go for such an agreement. Absolutely. Zhua Fan grinned from ear to ear. Devil Mountain's disciples are always inconspicuous as they travel the mortal world and don't meddle in anyone's problems. With the northern lands under such tight guard, we don't wish to draw any attention either. Devil Mountain is a hidden sect, and we wish to keep it that way. So long as Sir does not bother us, neither will we mind the land's affairs. Bailey Yuntian eased a breath. Finally at ease, Sword Patriarch. May I leave now? Please go right ahead. Zhua Fan smiled, having reached his goal. Bailey Yuntian bowed as he gestured with respect. Everyone else was dumbstruck. Since when was their patriarch so respectful to anyone? Whoosh. A white figure suddenly flashed over. Frigid Rain Sword King Bali Yu, clueless as to what transpired. She sneered and threatened Zhua Fan. Rotten punk. You think that useless Sun Sea sect could save you? Humph, in your dreams. Now, I'll make sure to send you all to oblivion. Stop. She turned back to see who shouted at her and saw her patriarch standing there startled. Bali Yu immediately bowed. Patriarch, he is that sneaky brat calling himself Devil Mountain's disciple. He must have earned your ire, Patriarch, but you don't have to lower to his level. I will handle him myself. Bali Yu pointed again, ready to strike and exact revenge. A bam resounded just then, and she was thrown into the air like a rag doll. She was forced to cough blood, mixing with the snowflakes and turning them red. Chapter 994. Sword King joining in. Chapter 994. Sword King joining in. Proofreader. Papatonks. The soft figure rested harshly on the white and red feathery snow, jerking now and then as Bali Yu cranked her head up to see Bailey Yuntian's icy and reproachful glare meeting hers. Patriarch, why? Bailey Yu was utterly confused. Bailey Yulei sighed and walked over to help her up. Bailey Yuntian's icy tone came again. Yulei, who said you can go? Bailey Yulei flinched and halted with another sigh. He gave one sad look to Bailey Yu and shook his head before going back to his spot. Things have changed. Patriarch finds the kid untouchable now, but you just had to raise your hand. That dreaded power from his ring aside, just his expounding on the realms of cultivation is enough to have Patriarch change his mind about attacking him, let alone us. He truly is an untouchable deep mystery. It was the unanimous answer they all reached, with only Bailey Yu, the new arrival, being in the dark still. Sister Yu, are you all right? Looking from her to the Patriarch, Zhua Fan smiled and walked over with a helping hand to Bailey Yu. Don't mind it. If others won't help you, I will. Ha ha ha. Pa. Bailey Yu slapped his hand away and glared with hatred. Beat it. Yu. Bailey Yuntian glared. Is this how you thank Sir Qian's consideration? I don't remember ever having such a rude and brash clansman. Should I get my whip? Bailey Yuntian cupped his hands to Zhua Fan. Sir, she's always like this, stubborn and rude. Please don't mind it. It's fine. What sort of king would the 9 sword kings be if they don't have some form of pride? Ha ha ha. Zhua Fan clapped as he laughed, then returned the gesture. Sword Patriarch, Since we've reached an accord, it's time for me to go. Zhuofan took shower back. Bailey Yutian's eyes darted all over in thought. Then he shouted, "Sir, I'd be most conflicted if I don't at least make up for Yu's crass behavior. Why don't I let Yu accompany you, helping Sir in his mission? That should make up for all her transgressions. What do you say? You want me with him?" Patriarch. Bailey Yu shrieked and looked from Zhuofan to Bailey Yutian, her eyes gleaming and begging for mercy. Bailey Yulei shuddered from disbelief. What's Patriarch after? Zhuofan paused again just as he was about to take the first step on the carriage. He looked back at Bailey Yutian with sparkles in his eyes and a beaming smile. Sword Patriarch, I am very much thankful for that, but I'm used to going alone. It'll be awkward having a travel partner out of nowhere. Also, it'll be so strange to have a great and revered Sword King as a mere travel buddy. Sir, please don't refuse my good intention. Bailey Yutian waved nonchalantly and said gravely, Sword King Yu is strong enough to give Sir no trouble at all. In the case that something does happen, Sir can just ignore it and leave it to her. I don't have Sword Kings that can't even look after themselves. As for status, in my eyes Sir is far nobler. Please don't shun my deepest sincerity, Sir. Zhuofan looked pensive. That's not exactly good. Sir, if you refuse, you're making me look bad. Bailey Yutian huffed in fake anger. We've reached an agreement to stay out of each of our ways, but by refusing me now is disrespecting me. I will even take it as a provocation. I can't vow I'll be a complete bystander when things get tough for you in your mission, sir. I've gotten used to being reckless and regardless of the 5 divine swords. I don't shy away from being self-destructive sometimes. But if I'm rash, could Sir be as well? What would your honorable master say? Zhuofan gave him a long look, then shook his head. Sword Patriarch is quite persistent with his help. That am I perhaps obliged to accept? Or is it that regardless of the price you'll pay, you'd still choose to be my enemy? That's exactly the idea. Invincible sword was blunt. Zhuofan nodded. Fine. I agree then. Men, we're leaving. And you, frigid rain Sword King, hop in. Or you'd rather follow behind? Ugh. Everyone froze in place. Bailey Yu gave a confused look to her Patriarch. Why am I? Bailey Yulei frowned. But they took the outcome much better than those guards, who looked at frigid rain Sword King like their executioner. They could even feel a chill brushing their fair necks. Zhuofan hopped in first, with the guards rushing behind him. Bailey Yutian glared at Bailey Yu. Don't just stand there, follow Sir Qian. You are to listen to his every word. You hear? Or you'll have to answer to me, is that clear? Bailey Yu's face twisted. How on earth did it turn from hounding him to following him? But orders were orders, and she had to bend a knee after squeezing all that anger and hatred, and who knew what deep inside. She bowed with cupped hands. Yes, Patriarch, I obey. Bailey Yu entered the carriage, and the spiritual beasts were soon moving, taking their masters deeper into the snowstorm. Bailey Yulei walked next to Bailey Yutian. Patriarch, why would you insist for Yu to be by his side? What are you after? Patriarch wants to see the real ability of Devil Mountain, knowing that the next objective would most likely be it. The Crown Prince smiled from the side, nodding. Bailey Yutian sighed. Crown Prince is sharp to see my intentions. On my journey, I have formed a sect, gathered experts, built an empire. Everything a true man of power would do, I have done it. With the 5 lands on the verge of being won, my only adversary would be heaven, to challenge my understanding of Tao. But with how vast it is, the difficulty is just as high. It never occurred to me that a new objective sprung up, a hidden sect, Devil Mountain. The world has 5 more stages for us. The more I think about it, the more I regret taking it easy all these years. That's why I had Yu go with him, just so that I can assess their ability and not challenge them. I want to know the gap between us. Once I reach the peak once more, I'll visit Devil Mountain and have a glorious fight with Overlord 9 Serenities. I will become a true invincible sword. Bailey Yutian's eyes shone with savagery, his knuckles white. As the 4 carriages rumbled on through the heavy snowstorm, the dozen third-layer spiritual beasts puffed steam with every step, ice slowly forming on their bodies and hindering their movements. While the outside was frosty and dead, spring blossomed within one particular carriage. The guards looked at each other, tense, afraid to even breathe too loud. Bailey Yu glared at them with a cold smile of disdain. Send word to the Qian clan to give us another token with a believable cover for Miss Yu. Zhuo Fan glanced at them. They jerked and said, Sir, you actually? Yes, she's coming with us. While the next sect she can just avoid. Once we reach the shores of the North Sea, entering the Sea Bright sect will be mandatory. Glancing at the frosty Bailey Yu, Zhuo Fan looked at the rest. She'll end up in pieces barging in as she is. Even a Sword King will find plenty of others at her level with how deep within the land we go. Ha ha ha. The others hesitated. Sir, that's not it. What I mean is if you really want to bring her along. Well, I don't. Bailey Yu butted in. The only reason I'm here is because the Patriarch said so. Even if it comes to the Sea Bright sect, I have my ways of bypassing it. Zhuo Fan gave her a long look and nodded. I know you do, but you're with me now and follow my orders. That's a must. Ha, what a joke. Then there's the door. Go tell Invincible Sword that I don't need an insubordinate flunky. He should first educate his people better before sending them to me. Zhuo Fan snapped. Everyone shuddered in fear, not because of Zhuo Fan's anger, but dreading the witch exploding anytime soon. She won't snap and kill us all, right? Though it was clear by Zhuo Fan's words that they hit Bailey Yu's sore spots, Bailey Yu put on a dark look and gnashed her teeth before growling. Do what you want and I'll do whatever, humph. Zhuo Fan smirked with confidence. Chapter 995. Yielding. Chapter 995. Yielding. Proofreader. Papatonks. An awkward silence dominated as the carriage rushed between the snowflakes. The mood inside was strained, to say the least. Ever since Frigid Rain Sword King joined the party, the others felt as if a viper was looming over them, shivering constantly. They were so on edge, they didn't even twitch or breathe too loud with their now red faces from strain. Bailey Yu was casual, like nothing had anything to do with her, just that she sometimes gave a disparaging smirk to them and to Zhuo Fan, who she abhorred. Just why the hell did Patriarch even send me along? Invincible Sword resumed to hide his tracks, and the men from Sun Sea sect aren't pursuing out of fear of the witch. All is quiet. Zhuo Fan sighed and spoke as he looked at the endless snow outside. Bailey Yu shot him a piercing glare. I'm right here, and yet he has the nerve to call me a witch? If it weren't for Patriarch's order, ugh. Bailey Yu gnashed her teeth and reined in her boiling fury. Zhuo Fan didn't know when to stop. We've met with Bailey Yuntian, and it could be said we had a nice chat, resulting in an agreement to each mind our own business. Though the old man was quite annoying on insisting and jabbing a thorn in our side, it won't matter much. The mission will still finish. He shouldn't be so set against Devil Mountain so soon. We just have to live with things as is. It wouldn't matter even if he filled us with thorns either. The rest were sweating buckets the further he talked to himself. They just kept hinting at him to stop with painful faces. Dude, that's private talk between brothers. Why do you insist on saying it to the enemy? Are you suicidal? This is a Sword King we're talking about here. You might find life boring, but don't drag us down as well. Bam! It came at no surprise that Bailey Yu's short temper quickly ran out under Zhuo Fan's repeated disdain. She made a hard face at him and cursed, "Watch your mouth. There's a limit to my patience." The others shuddered as the witch spewed hellfire. Ha ha ha. Yeah, if you had any patience you wouldn't be a Sword King. Zhuo Fan just kept on going. But now you're in my employment, and you'll have to suck it up no matter how little you have. You best not forget Patriarch's words. He gave you a mission when he sent you to me. It would be a shame to go back empty-handed, no? I've seen the old coot style, and I'm pretty sure he won't let it go just 'cause you're a Sword King, huh? Bailey Yu balled her fists at his mocking grin, spatting. I don't even know what Patriarch wants me to do, but you do? Of course, and so do you. I do. It's public knowledge, actually. Zhuo Fan gave a vague smile that had her confused. Then why do I still not know what it is? Zhuo Fan beamed and turned to Chower, fiddling with her eagle mask. Chower, would you be so kind to share with this old crone what the geezer wants from her? Glaring at him, Bailey Yu's anger spiked. But she turned to Chower with a questioning gaze. Have you gone senile already? We just heard him say it. Chower rolled her eyes. Annoyed someone had to disturb her fun. Sticking out her lower lip, the old guy said to listen to your every word. That's her mission. Well, ain't it your mission, senile biddy? Ha ha ha, Zhuofan mocked as he glanced at Bali Yu. The others were still very much afraid of Bali Yu's savage wrath, but even they had to stifle a laughter at that. Bali Yu's face twitched, going beet red, and yanked at Zhuofan's clothes and shouting in his face, "You're toying with me. Oh my, you better watch your tone. Bailey Yuntian had you hang on my every word, not touch me. You're best worrying about finishing the geezer's task and not getting punished instead." Patting her hand, Zhuofan mocked her. Still, she was so furious, she wanted to slap him into the afterlife. The only thing staying her hand were Patriarch's words. So she could only push Zhuofan aside and grumble into a corner with red eyes and tearing up. She was a woman of immense pride, favored since she was born, but now she felt the world was coming to an end. What is Patriarch thinking? Zhuofan smiled and turned to the rest. Frigid Rain's Sword King has principles, so she won't bother us. We can just ignore her as we discuss like usual. Our goal differs from the central area anyway, so it won't hurt us at all. The guards looked from him to the teary Bali Yu and nodded, feeling their admiration for Zhuofan soaring. This lord is incredible, shaking off the likes of Invincible Sword and the 9 Sword Kings with mere words. That worked in removing Bali Yu's threat, almost, and the mood became more natural, sir. Having incited the Sun Sea sect to deal with Frigid Rain Sword King will give us headaches with Sea Bright sect. How should we proceed? One guard spoke his due. Zhuofan merely smiled. Not to worry, I only stirred them back there, and not had them pushed to attack. Without any evidence, they can't do anything to us. You're the one who made them stop me? Bali Yu jerked her head around. Her eyes still having traces of tears. Zhuofan was quite blunt. Yep, it was becoming a pain to have you constantly on our tail and ruining our stuff, so we let it slip to those guys about you to stall you. Once you started attacking, you'd be sure to make a huge scene too. So big not even Bailey Yuntian could cover, so he had to come out and meet me. That's how I was able to strike a non-aggression pact with the Patriarch. While Invincible Sword had given you free rein to kill, but you're here in hiding after all. Once the noise gets loud enough, it wouldn't stop at fighting one sect, but drawing all of Northern Land strong into this, so I was absolutely positive that when you got back to Patriarch's side, he would give you some heavy punishment. Giving you the right to kill did not mean you can go on a rampage. Now all eyes are looking here, a huge detriment to Central Area's team. So he had enough of your rash actions, sick of you being so bad at your job, and gave you to me to get rid of you. Ha ha, you're full of it. Patriarch would never think of me like that. Bali Yu shot down Zhuofan's mockery on the spot, but then she said in confusion, "You just told me your plan. Aren't you scared that I'll tell it to Patriarch? Are you trying to trick him?" Zhuofan shook his head in disdain. "That's why I said you're bad at your job. You couldn't even figure out this simple truth. I was not tricking him, but you. Furthermore, your Patriarch noticed this from the start. He knew the moment you made a scene that you lost, so he had to see me fast before the Northern Land strong showed up and wouldn't get another chance. So the question is, knowing his nature and going back to him by making it worse through reporting, how would he deal with you?" "Ha ha ha, I heard it was quite the stinging whip." Bali Yu grimaced as she gnashed her teeth. "You're as despicable as that conniving Bailey Jingwei." Zhuofan merely stared at her with bright eyes. He knew exactly why Bailey Yuntian got this Sword King to watch him, to see the limits of Devil Mountain. But with such a strong asset around, it would be a damn shame not to use it. His mind was now filled of countless ideas how things might evolve or devolve. Over the next 3 days, the carriages had rode without any issues, only making a stop on the morning of the 4th day, when a guard perked up at the road ahead. "Sir, that's Galefrost Town. We have a shop here we can use to contact Qian Clan and give Frigid Rain Sword King a cover." "Then we'll make a short stop there." Zhuofan decided. Whoosh. A whistling wind suddenly passed as a very familiar scent wafted from a carriage pulled by the same type of 3rd-level spiritual beasts as theirs got ahead of them. Zhuofan looked ahead at the carriage's back and his eyes shone. That carriage looks familiar. Chapter 996. Meeting Immortal Healer Again. Chapter 996. Meeting Immortal Healer Again. Proofreader. Papatonks. The guard noticed Zhuofan's blank look and looked at the carriage going into the snowstorm. "Sir, These carriages are common. Is there something wrong? Nothing, just very familiar. Zhuofan was in a dilemma. I just can't place where I've seen it. Bailey Yu used this chance to mock him. You rotten man. Did you have too many old flames to remember them all? Old flames? Did you ever see a man driving such a fragrant carriage then? Humph, Serene. You sure know how to spread your love. Bailey Yu patronized the other men, sniffed the air, and picked up the scent. The notion hit them as well, but kept it to themselves with lowered heads. Though they still smiled, a woman? Zhuofan thought hard for a bit, then exclaimed, Oh, it's them. Who? A lover on the side? My auntie? Smiley face, it can also mean father's concubine. Bailey Yu capitalized on this chance to mock him. Shower's eyes lit up as well as she played along. While Bali Yu hated Zhuofan's guts, she ended up finding a friend in the small child. The two growing close these days, men never were able to unravel a woman's mind. The two girls became fast friends in no time, with Bali Yu leading Showers astray, pulling pranks together against Zhuofan. Zhuofan ignored all that and said, when young Sanzi got hurt, the lady inside saved him by sheer coincidence, and I've yet to thank her. I have to go say hello and figure out a way to repay the favor and not be left owing anyone anything. You owe them a favor, so why the long face? Why on earth are you scared you may never return it instead? Getting the picture, Bailey Yu was baffled how this cunning and shrewd man would look at favors with such gravity, restless all the time unless he returned them. This was a first for her. Shower waved her hand with a smile. Sister Yu, that's just how Dad is. Always clear on favors and hatreds. My brother had the fortune to be rescued, and my dad used the chance to swindle them out of a treasure and must now be feeling guilty. They saved your son, and you robbed them? Bali Yu's face twitched, changing the way she looked at him, filled with disdain. I knew you were bad, and this proves it. Repaying kindness with malice? Zhuofan sighed with a shake of his head. I just thought that 20 million sacred stones in exchange for a bit of North Sea gel would be a sky-high price, returning the favor. But not only did I not return what I owed, but ended up finding out that I took something worth 50 million sacred stones instead. Curses, how was I supposed to know that thing is so great? It looks as if I strong-armed them, feeling me with guilt. Frigid Rain Sword King cocked her head with a wide smile and a roll of her eyes. Here I was thinking you're a conniving man, but now I know you're just a dumb fool. Who in their right mind would ever weigh the North Sea gel and sacred stones? How was I supposed to know? Zhuofan rolled his eyes, calling the driver. Hurry up and catch up to that carriage. Don't surprise them and make things worse either. The man nodded and sped up, Bali Yu cocking an eyebrow at him with a smirk. You sure go the extra mile when it comes to your saviors, devious man. Even worried you might startle them. I just can't tell if you're nice or pure evil. Devil Mountain does have an evil vibe, but does it raise demons or saints? Picking up on her angle to squeeze info about Devil Mountain from him, Zhuofan didn't fall for it. Returning a mysterious smile, Bali Yu's face fell and cursed Shower grabbed her hand before she could. Giggling, Sister Yu, don't make that long face. You look so much better with a smile. Yeah, young Miss Shower is right. Frigid Rain Sword King's smile is like a warm spring rain. Ha ha ha, one guard teased thanks to Zhuofan's hard work and sharp tongue in putting Bali Yu's nasty temper in its place. Everyone pretty much lost their fear of her. Flushing red, Bali Yu glared at him. Try saying that one more time and see where that gets you. The guy flinched and shook his head around. But the more Bali Yu looked around at the others, the more she found their eyes odd and her face went redder. But then she noticed Shower's bright smile that eased the tension and made her smile as well. She was one of the 9 Sword Kings, Frigid Rain Sword King. No one had ever said that she had a smile like warm rain. The ever-present frost and ice in the north begins to thaw under the warm sun's rays. Spring has come. Zhuofan gave his 2 cents as he looked from Bali Yu to the icy world outside with a sigh. He felt that the changes in the world were going to happen within the heart as well. The heart shifting softly along with the rest of the environment. This ineffable feeling left him dazed, finding it natural and harmonious. The carriage rumbled through the snow and followed the other one in front. They soon came upon a town looking like a pile of snow from the distance, with a 10-meter-tall stone plaque standing in front, covered in snow yet still able to convey its words, Galefrost Town, all the carriages stopped and the driver said, "Sir, the carriage in front has stopped in Galefrost Town as well. We'll be spotted if we follow it in. What should we do?" "You guys get Frigid Rain's sword, King her token, and I will find the carriage myself. We'll meet outside town." Zhuofan spoke and reached out to Bali Yuyu. "Take out your jade slip with your aura signature so they can do their job." Bali Yuyu pouted. "There's no need for that." "Is that what Miss Yuyu will say to Sword Patriarch?" "Fine here." Bali Yuyu huffed and threw out a jade slip while still difficult. She at least lost her murderous glares from the start. These few days of chatting had helped in smoothing things over. Zhuofan gave the token to a guard, then he took Shower out. "Miss Yuyu, will you go with us or them? We'll be meeting back outside town anyway." "I'm going with Shower, Humph." Bali Yuyu stuck out her nose as she jumped off the carriage, taking Shower and going ahead, leaving the rest shaking their heads. The rest of the carriages stopped as well, and Zhuofan went to catch up to the girls. It was hard to see Bali Yuyu's expressions clearly in the dim-lit carriage, but now, in full daylight and snowy fields, her red swelling cheek was quite conspicuous. Zhuofan rushed over. "Miss Yuyu, it's been a week since we first saw each other, so how come your face isn't healed yet?" "It will stay like this until Patriarch says otherwise." Bali Yuyu was stubborn, sighing. Zhuofan said, "But you're with me now. What will people think seeing you like that? Does it give the wrong impression? If only. It'll only make things worse. Now that I'm going to give thanks, your Patriarch will think I did this to you. How do you think it'll reflect on me? You don't care about face, but I do." Bali Yuyu giggled. "Fine. I'll just let your saviors see me. See just what kind of man you are. It should at least make them think twice about saving such an evil brute." You still say I'm evil? Heal it already, or just wait in the carriage." Zhuofan's face fell as he demanded, sticking out her tongue. Bali Yuyu was being childish for once. "Not happening. I'll be sure to wipe the floor with your name in front of your saviors, so you won't get to repay the favor. What are you gonna do about it?" "Ha ha ha. You kept pushing me every time you got the chance on our way here. Now it's my turn. Ha ha ha." Zhuofan's hand shone green and looked at her coldly. "Bali Yuyu, I'll just do your face for you then. It's been ages since I last used Returning Dragon's Roar, and you'll make a fine subject." Zhuofan's palm went for Bali Yuyu, straight for her swollen cheek, bubbling with vitality. "Don't even try." With a sinister face, Bali Yuyu giggled and dodged. No matter how monstrous Zhuofan was, he could do nothing against a Sword King. Zhuofan and Bali Yuyu ran around Shower for 30 moves, with Zhuofan never hitting her once. Shower was having a blast watching them and laughing. Bali Yuyu held Shower and laughed as well, feeling free for the first time in a long time. She teased and played the victim. "Would no one be willing to save me from this deviant man?" "Curses, me, a deviant? You have the nerve to say that? Who in this world would ever have the guts to be fresh with you?" Panting, Zhuofan glared. "Stop this instant. I'm only going to touch it once." "And you call it not being fresh?" An icy voice echoed. Chapter 997, Misunderstanding. Chapter 997, Misunderstanding. Proofreader, Papatonks. Just as the three were deep in their own drama, the sudden shout had them pause and looked over at an elegant figure watching them with anger and coldness. Zhuofan was stunned by her incredible beauty, almost to Chu Qingqing's level. "There's actually someone on this earth as pretty as my wife." Though his reaction only pissed her off more, lashing at him. "Had enough, Sergu? How do you know me?" Zhuofan started in confusion. On his trip to Central Area, he had borrowed this name from young Sanzi, but how come it reached northern lands? Another lovely lady rushed over and lit up at Zhuofan's appearance. "Oh, if it isn't Gu Yifan, how's your son? My young miss couldn't see you then, but she's still very concerned about the child. She had been hitting the medical books ever since we returned in hope of providing care." "Zhuair," the first girl shouted and sent a despising look to Zhuofan. With Sergu's smooth skills, getting fresh with women in broad daylight, it must mean that your son should be skipping about, yes? How else could Sir have the peace of mind to enjoy such activities? Ugh. Zhuofan froze, looking from one girl to another and ending up sighing. He wanted to leave a nice impression to their lord and savior, then pay up what he owed. But now all was ruined due to a dumb misunderstanding. And that damn Bali Yuyu was grinning like a cat. only making it worse instead of looking good to them. He turned into a degenerate either way. He was still going to try, and Zhuo Fan bowed. Miss must be the lady that saved me and my son back then. You have my gratitude. How may I address the lady? Last time I was in such a rush that I forgot my manners. The girl held a cold face, not even looking at him. Zhuo despised him with a glare. Sir is quite the hypocrite. Across the whole word, there is not a single man who would not bow, enamored with her beauty, and wanting to hear my young miss name. Sir didn't ask last time since you didn't see Miss appearance, which makes this situation obvious. Don't you think your excuse is pretty lame? Bailey Yu made sure to interject with a giggle at his expense. Yep, lame. Zhuo Fan snapped a glare on her, then sighed. So he leveled with the two girls with cupped hands. Mrs. Misunderstanding, I have no other intention but to return this treasure I have no clue of when I took it from my son's saviors. Would there be anything else that I might do for the ladies to repay the favor? Zhuo Fan took out a gourd and handed it over. Zhuo snatched it and gave it a check. Young miss, not a drop is missing. Return it. The young miss icy tone came. You bought it with sacred stones and we have no right to take it. No, no, no. Those sacred stones are to return the favor. Young miss. Zhuo Fan refused. The young miss said, Sir should let me finish at least. It was a transaction and I do not do any returns. Also, I never touch anything filthy. The girl flicked her finger and the gourd flew in Zhuo Fan's hand. Miss, I think you got this all wrong. Zhuo Fan took the gourd and looked at her to explain. What Miss had seen wasn't the truth. I am not that kind of man. It was she. Zhuo Fan pointed at Bali Yu. But she was not about to let this once in a blue moon chance to make his life miserable, so she put on her most aggrieved voice. Miss, I am but a frail and poor woman. Yet this savage suddenly started hitting on me. Just look at what he did to my face. Bali Yu pointed at her red and swollen cheek, while slipping a taunting eyebrow in between to Zhuo Fan. Only Zhuo Fan's face fell, but no matter how much he seethed, he couldn't let it show. With the whole case clear-cut to Zhuo, she cussed. We were wrong in saving you. Forcing yourself on a woman is an act worse than an animal's. Please, girl, can't you see I have a daughter as well? What man in their right mind would do something like that in front of their child? Zhuo Fan grew angrier as he shouted and pointed at Shower. Zhuo's brow shook, then raged. It's one thing to be vile and another to corrupt an innocent mind. You're nothing but a disgusting brute. Zhuo Fan's lips shook and gnashed his teeth. Unable to come up with a proper explanation, there's no reasoning with a woman, held some truth after all. Regardless of the ironclad proof you held, they would still not believe you, giving you no chance of defending yourself. Zhuo Fan shook his head, pointing at Shower. Can't you just ask my daughter as to what happened? Gods, you even want to involve a sweet child into your filthy act? You call yourself a man? What could such a young child even understand? And you're now trying to get her to lie for you just to look good? Zhuo's imagination ran wild, in the wrong direction, twisting every word Zhuo Fan spoke. He gave a slight nod and sighed. Fine then, miss, you're officially my strongest adversary. You win. Think what you want. I give up. Since you admit, then I can't ignore this. The First Lady shouted. Zhuo Fan shook his head. These broads want to force a confession out of me. So now you want to kill me since I admit it. Yes, the life I gave and the evil I sent out will all be taken back personally. The girl's eyes flashed with murder as she struck at Zhuo Fan, who. A biting wind whistled as the palm came, freezing the area around Zhuo Fan. Yet the sudden ice contained within it strange flames, turning it into a blistering furnace. Bali Yu cried out. Southern Land's high profound ranked martial art of the Morong clan, glacial blaze palm. Your immortal healer Morong Shui? Morong Shui ignored her, and her hand flicked whoosh. A cold wind had Zhuo Fan trapped in ice, with the flames within it roaming over his body. Whoosh. Morong Shui ignored Zhuo Fan's fate and turned to Bailey Yu with suspicion. You're no common lady to figure out my clan's greatest skill. You're not the victim here, are you? Ha ha ha. You know it's a lie, yet you still killed him? If you'd have looked deeper, you might have picked up on the clues and not have killed the wrong person. With a sinister grin, Bailey Yu sighed and patted Shower's head. Everyone says the Morong clan is righteous beyond fault, saving lives left and right. But then you start killing innocents, leaving this poor child an orphan to wander the cruel world all alone. But you can just come with me now. Hi hi hi. Murong Shui gave her a cold smile. My clan always strikes with purpose. It doesn't matter even if you're at fault today. But he had unleashed a disaster in the central area, killing countless innocents. I have now rid the world of this evil, upholding the Murong clan's honor. Central area? Bailey Yu squinted and then exclaimed, You mean Serene Shore's trading matter was his doing? He really did a number on all those imperial officials. I had totally underestimated him. Looking from her to Chower, Murong Shui spoke coldly. I am a responsible person and will deal with the consequences myself. I think you're not very nice either, so the innocent child needs someone to guide her. Since I killed her father, I will take her with me and raise her. I'd hate to trouble you. You think it's that easy? We've gotten very close these days and won't accept strangers. Bali Yu gave a sneer. Murong Shui's aura flared. I take it that Miss wants to settle this with violence? Stop dawdling and attack if you want. You're not your brother anyhow. You're nothing to me. Bali Yu's smile turned sinister while the two were having a fit over who got custody of Zhua Fan's daughter. Chower looked surprisingly calm about this, sometimes looking over at Zhua Fan in icy hell and noticing a trace of the black thunder flames swirling around. Chapter 998. Holy Righteousness. Chapter 998. Holy Righteousness. Proofreader. Papatonks. Boom. With a sharp crack and a deafening explosion, all the ice encasing Zhua Fan turned to pieces before being eroded by the black thunder flame into nothing, including the blue flame within the ice. Zhua Fan walked on with his left eye shining black, with not a hair out of place from that ordeal. Turning to the two girls, Zhua Fan's face was stoic as he cupped his hands. Ladies shouldn't fight, for I shall be the one to raise my own daughter. I can do without anyone else's help. You actually survived my palm? How? Murong Shui gasped in shock. Bailey Yu stared at Zhua Fan, filled with curiosity. You sure are something else, not just of insidious mind, but of great strength as well. What you just experienced was the ultimate skill of the Murong clan, needing two great world treasures to train. The North Sea's perennial ice crystal and Southern Land's geocentric flame, the coldest of the flames. Combining them results in a mix of fire and water, water and fire, engendering one another in any situation. Under such an attack, the chill seeps into your flesh and freezes your meridians while the fire burns you alive. Anyone else would have been sent to oblivion. Yet you lived through that? Now you have my respect. Since when was I just anyone? Zhua Fan glared, then turned to Murong Shui with a frown and cupped hands. Miss Murong, I never knew you were the young miss of the Murong clan in the Southern Lands. I believe that with your brother by your side, there's nothing you'd need help with. Nonetheless, I owe you a favor that I shall repay one day. Now, however, I shall say farewell. Zhua Fan gave another bow and glanced at Chower and Bailey Yu. We're leaving. He was the first to start walking after his short speech, like he wanted to avoid Murong Shui, not wanting to stay a second more if he could help it. I don't think so. Murong Shui shouted, unleashing another palm on his back. In her hand was a scorching coldness so acute, it quickly reached Zhua Fan's back. Zhua Fan turned around, and his Qilin arm glowed scarlet, meeting the palm. He forced Murong Shui 5 steps back from the clash. While he staggered for 4 steps, Bailey Yu raised an eyebrow, the only indication of her shock first time. Zhua Fan used some super skill to get out of his confinement. While this attack was met with brute force and repelled, her amazement only grew, finding the two of them on equal grounds in her eyes. No third-layer Radiant Stage Cultivator should be able to handle Murong Shui's 5th-layer Soul Harmony stage power. What's this punk using to hide his cultivation? Bailey Yu squinted, content with watching from the sidelines and analyzing. Zhua Fan. Chower would never move a muscle without Zhua Fan's say-so, striking the image of a most sweet child, especially around strangers, of course. That excluded critical moments, but it was obvious Zhua Fan was in no dire need of rescuing. Young Miss. Jouer grew tense as she witnessed her young miss moves having no effect. She rushed to her side in worry. Murong Shui waved her off, her icy glare set on Zhua Fan, stopping now and then on his Qilin arm. The ice was spreading, catching her gesture. Zhua Fan raised his right hand with a faint smile, Is Miss still planning to hurt me with that palm? Ha ha, I'm afraid Miss is wrong here. This arm of mine fears neither cold nor heat. Miss frozen flames have no effect on me. Zhua Fan's right hand jerked and ice broke off, leaving an unmarred skin behind. Without not so much as a scratch, Morong Shue's eyes shook. Her face grave. Young Miss Palm isn't the glacial blaze palm, nor was it any martial art. But young Miss had trained with the North Sea ice crystal and had long since grasped fire and ice's natures, imbuing her every attack with them. Even a stronger adversary would feel his meridians burning and freezing. So how come? Jouer was overwhelmed as well as she muttered to herself. Bailey Yu grinned in mockery. It seems to me that our young Miss Morong has found her match. It would have been so much better if he was stronger, making this debacle bearable. But since they're of equal strength, her amazing skill also got countered as well. Gosh, it must have been absolute torture to train in fire and ice so they become one with you. But much good did that do? It's utterly useless. Ha ha ha. What did young Miss ever do to you? Why do you ridicule her? Jouer couldn't stand her young Miss being mocked. Morong Shue couldn't care less, only looking into Zhua Fan's eyes with a sharp glint. Zhua Fan sighed, feeling how his savior was turning out to see him as a bitter enemy. He cupped his hands. Miss Morong, I'm sure you know by now how devious this shrew is. Who in their right mind would hit on her? It's a miracle if she doesn't start toying with others. Why must you then insist on treating me like a criminal? Hey, who are you calling a shrew? Bailey Yu snapped at Zhua Fan with an angry glare. Zhua Fan only looked at Morong Shue, waiting for her reaction. Judging by those sharp eyes, she was not going to forget this anytime soon. Still obsessed with getting rid of Zhua Fan today, hitting on women is a sin, but not a capital one. I am not attacking you because of this. I ain't so petty. Then why? Thousands upon thousands of poor souls faded in the central area, all because of you. I won't let this injustice stand. Morong Shue's eyes glinted with killing intent. Zhua Fan was puzzled. Central area? But isn't Miss from southern lands at odds with the central area? If you'd still go for revenge, you shouldn't do it in the central area's stead. Miss reasoning would have been relatable if I had done such an atrocity in the other three lands, since we're allies and all. But against the central area, ha ha ha, it's both our enemy. The enemy should meet his end, and while the targets were officials in the central area, why did you have to make a patsy out of Serene Shores trading? You had them take the fall while you ran away. Thousands of lost souls cry for justice. Such evil can't be left to stand. Oh, I get it. You think they... Zhua Fan smiled. Miss must be so bored to hunt me down over some nobodies. But did you ask yourself if I was the one who harmed them? It was their own greed that became their undoing. Let me put it another way. They had been relying on the central area's nobles to start out and should have seen it coming. I only just happened to be passing by when it happened. Morong Shue huffed and nodded. You think I didn't know that? And I'm not doing this for them either. Then why? For the world. I can't let such evil roam the world for a second longer. Taking a deep breath, Morong Shue's gaze was resolute. Serene Shores trading had only money in their sights and would one day bleed over it, cast out by the five lands, no matter how grand it looked from the outside. I was clear on that, but between thriving and decline, there is a process. Ants carry on their lives, and so do people, regardless. Serene Shores Trading's fate was sad, yes, but it shouldn't have come so soon, nor involve so many countless other lives. This is all on you. Demons plague the world, and it's our duty, followers of righteousness, to purge you and uphold these values, regardless of everything. Yesterday, you had the greatest company in the central area meet with destruction, causing unrest in the central area. Today, you show up in northern lands, in cahoots with people no less devious than you. Any who join the devil will be swallowed by the devil in the end. No one can escape. There are no bystanders. Letting you go today might even make me your next victim, or my family. No, you must be removed here and now. Zhua Fan let out a long and tired sigh, nodding. I see. These are misbeliefs, even looking quite ahead. Yes, with me still breathing, countless lives will fall. Some might see the harm I do to be in their favor, but nothing is to say the same harm won't ever befall on them just as well. It is rare to see someone like Miss having such a strong heart and see the truth. What's rarer is people of misforesight. So long as people have the devil in their hearts, I still have grounds to live. Such a shame the two of us walk different paths. Farewell." Fan bowed with a solemn look of recognition. Putting an end to the gratitude he had for her, he stopped trying to return the favor, for he had met holy righteousness against his demonic ways. Or better yet, she was a warrior who carried such beliefs in her heart, not straying and completely set against demons. Chapter 999. Ardent Sun Sword God. Chapter 999. Ardent Sun Sword God. Proofreader. Papatonks. Murong Shui watched Fan give a heavy bow with full respect and was touched. She could feel his sincerity and sighed. "You are the most upstanding demon among all that I've met. Like I said before in the carriage, as long as you can turn a new leaf and do good." "Impossible." Fan shot her down on the spot. "Miss has her own righteous belief and I have my demonic path. We each go our own way, with nothing in common. Miss, you're better off not trying to impose your creed on myself." Murong Shui shook and grew angry, snapping at him. "Why do you insist on becoming a demon everyone hates? How much evil will you do? Does Miss think that the demonic path is evil?" Fan shook his head. "Miss, you don't understand us. And since you have no idea of the path I tread, refrain from giving your shallow comments. We all have our beliefs, but it's best not to let them govern us. True righteousness only exists as a goal, while miscultivation has taken you quite close but nowhere near it. As the saying goes, evil never dies so long as a human heart holds it." Murong Shui looked long at him and balled her fists. "I know nothing of Sir's demonic path, but want to know why you're willing to be so far gone within it, to cause such harm. Since Sir insists on his demonic ways, I have no choice but to purge you." Murong Shui made a sign and extended her hands. Thousands upon thousands of silver snowflakes whooshed through the air in a violent storm, gathering into sharp icicles and coming down on Fan hard. Not just Fan would suffer from it, but everything in hundreds of miles would be flattened. The townsfolk scrambled out of the town, turning it empty, except for the few people fighting heavenly rain. "Sky Dragon Mountain Coil?" Fan squinted in shock, but then he grinned. A half-a-kilometer-long prismatic dragon appeared into the world, winding around Fan and shielding him from everything. Bailey Yu gasped. "The punk is insane. What's he doing using his soul against a soul harmony expert? Those icicles would skewer his soul and destroy him." All knew this was the dumbest choice, but they refused to believe someone like Fan would make such a fatal mistake. There had to be a trick to it, so everyone watched as a hail of thousands of icicles stabbed at the dragon's soul, leaving big holes in it. The frigid cold seeped into it and froze it stiff, turning it into an ice sculpture packed with holes. It rattled under the heavy winds, inching towards collapse, moments away from crumbling to pieces on the cold, hard ground. "Shower, since your dad got nailed, wanna come with me?" Bailey Yu patted Shower's head, pointing at Murong Shui with a teasing smile. "Be sure to remember that broad, since she killed your dad. Once I teach you all I know, you can go and kill her and get revenge." Jouer's brow shook, glaring at her, while Murong Shui sighed. "You won't be taking that child anywhere, miss. I said that she'll be under my care." "Humph, you're just trying to stamp her out. My clan would never stoop so low. I'll be sure to raise her well and school her to be sensible. It will be entirely her choice to seek revenge or not." Bailey Yu gave her a cold look. "Anyway, she's not going with her dad's murderer. Do you take me for a 3-year-old that you're going to take care of her? What of it? It's better than letting her go your vile ways. I'm not talking to you anymore. You're just going to annoy me more." The two returned to fighting over Shower's custody, but the child had enough of their incessant nagging and stuck out her lip. "Why do you yap when my dad's still here? I may agree, but Dad won't." The two looked incredulously at Shower, then at the frozen and ventilated dragon soul. "You kidding me? Who can survive their soul ending up like that?" As if to deny the reality in front of them, a laughter echoed. "My daughter knows me best. Miss Murong, I said you don't know the demonic path. Your attack can't even scratch me." "Demonic Dragon King," Dragon Soul variant. The ice dragon sculpture bled black mist as it started swirling all around it. Before being sucked back and the black mist faded, and so did the huge dragon, leaving only Zhuofan behind and his ineffable smile, untouched of course. That was young Mist's strongest attack. How is it possible when it struck his soul? Even Juer cried out in shock. Bali Yuyu reacted with no little amazement at the stunt he pulled. He had upped her entire understanding of the world, surviving despite having his soul injured beyond repair. What kind of cheat was that? Zhuofan clapped and gestured for Chow'er to come over. She skipped to him with a smile. Leaving Morong Shui filled with doubts, Zhuofan took the child's hand and offered Morong Shui one last smile. Miss Morong, I just wanted to return the favor for saving us, but since you insist on being so against my type, I would have to refrain from staying too close to you either, lest my demonic energy would rub off on you and ruin your illustrious name. Thus I chose to take Miss attack, and let us be square. From now on, Miss walks in the light of day, while myself on the narrow flimsy bridge, never to meet. This is the end of my attachment. Goodbye. Zhuofan left with Chow'er. Now hold on. What's that supposed to mean? You put your soul and life at risk by taking my attack, then you see it as if you're doing me a favor? Morong Shui grew anxious, not accepting this outcome at all. She darted for Zhuofan, but not to attack, only to grab him and make him talk sense. I have always been true in my actions, never asking anything in return regardless of the lives I save. When purging demons, I don't need your permission either. How is that related to your actions? How does that qualify as becoming even? Halt and speak clearly. Yuyu, stop her. Zhuofan spoke and Bali Yuyu smirked with a roll of her eyes. Why should I? Zhuofan called once more, knowing she wasn't going to play ball. The old man, remember? You just keep holding him over my head. Bali Yuyu's face twitched and huffed in annoyance from being toyed with. You only know to boss me around. I'll get you for this. While she nagged and whined, she did his bidding, flashing before Morong Shui and stopping her. Morong Shui glared at her and struck with an icy palm. Move. Humph, lass, you're quite ignorant thinking you can strike me. Bali Yiyu smirked and unleashed her huge aura. Morong Shui was flung back and bled from the mouth, but was too shocked to care about that little detail. Genesis stage expert. Hee, prissy girl, now you understand who you're messing with? Bali Yiyu looked obnoxiously smug with her nose in the air. Your Ian's too early to fight me, humph. Yuyu, cut the chatter and let's go. Zhuofan spoke without turning. Bali Yiyu grumbled. Her good mood deflated, though she still followed after Zhuofan. What are you so cocky about? You're only alive because Patriarch wants it, humph. Bali Yiyu kept ranting behind Zhuofan and gnashing her teeth, but then a scorching wind engulfed the town, melting all the snow in a blink across the entire area. Morong Shui lit up in joy. Brother. Southern Land's strongest, ardent sun sword god Morong Lai? Zhuofan's brow shook and Bali Yuyu paused, as well as her face grew grave for the first time today. Chapter 1000, Clash. Chapter 1000, Clash. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. The first thing that caught the eye was the bright red warrior robe he wore, fluttering in the wind. As one looked higher, they began to notice that this middle-aged man was built for battle. His eyes sharp and having a stubble instead of a beard, his features only contorted into a savage look as he noticed Morong Shui's wounded state. Schwerer, what happened? Clanhead, they did this to young Miss. Juer sprung up now that backup was here and bowed while pointing at Zhuofan's group with reproach. Clanhead, you have to make them pay for what they did to young Miss. Young Miss even saved that punk and his son once, yet he only knows how to repay kindness with cruelty, pitting that witch into harming young Miss. Clanhead, you must do right by young Miss. Zhuofan shook his head with a wry smile. He just knew Juer was nothing but trouble. She had front row seats to the truth of the matter, but was sly enough to do a selective summary on the facts she wanted. She even labeled him a repulsive ingrate, all to get the Morong clan head to fight him in anger. This broad sure knows how to incite hatred. Such a waste of a good demonic talent. Brother, Morong Shui started, wanting to explain everything, but he gestured for her to stop, glancing at her impatient look. Morong Lai turned to Zhuofan. I am Morong Lai, from the Morong clan in Southern Lands. I was taking a short rest from my journey to the North Sea shore after being invited, but just a few days ago, word reached me that something happened in the Sun Sea sect, so I came to investigate. May I ask who all of you are and whether or not you have heard of Sun Sea sect's predicament? Bailey Yu clenched her fists, her eyes sharp with bloodthirst. Moronglai gave her a smirk, then his finger began to shake. Southern Land's strongest, Ardent Sun Sword God Morong clan head. We finally meet. Zhuofan looked at Moronglai over his shoulder. We're just passing by and aren't aware what might have happened to Sun Sea sect. We're unable to help Morong clan head and ask that you see for yourself. As for today, in this town, it was all just a big misunderstanding with your sister, but it's cleared now. You are free to ask her the details, and I believe you will come to understand everything. As we're in a bit of a hurry, we'll be leaving. Goodbye. Zhuofan walked on with Chiaoer, with Bali Yu stepping livelier behind them. Moronglai raised his voice again. Wait, what has gotten Sir so hasty? I have been around Southern Lands for many years, and not many are those who can't speak reason, while the Morong name always values righteousness above all else. As there's an issue between my sister and Sir, I would play the middleman in analyzing the situation. I'll be sure to give my sister a proper punishment if whatever she's done was wrong. But if it were just a misunderstanding, then we can move on and Sir and I can drink to that as friends. Wouldn't that be better? Moronglai spoke with respect and dignity, like a true leader of his clan. Morong did live up to its name of being fair. Anyone else would have done a 180 on the spot and hung out with the best clan head in Southern Lands for days and days. This was a prime occasion to be moving on up. A shame Zhuofan found such practice in his detriment for this particular endeavor, in which subtlety was much prized. To say nothing of Bali Yu. Zhuofan shook his head in refusal. Morong clan head, I thank you for the offer, but I am needed elsewhere and can't be late. Next time I'm free, I'll be sure to pay the Morong home a visit. All I hope is that clan head wouldn't mind me troubling him for a few days then. As for now, haha, I shall take my leave. Zhuofan was getting impatient about making a quick exit. Now hold on, sir. There's still some things I need your help in understanding. Moronglai's suspicions were raised, and he shouted. Zhuofan turned a deaf ear, going further away. Moronglai felt convinced now. They looked too suspicious and may very well turn out to be Central Area spies. So he sprinted straight for them. Is Sir's haste due to guilt, not even able to look me in the eye? Whoosh! He was about to catch up to Zhuofan, reaching out his hand. But then a cold palm got in between. Thunder flashed and wind howled as a strong sword wave came at Moronglai's head. Moronglai's heart skipped a beat in his chest, having rarely met with people so against him as to unleash such deadly strikes. He had no choice but to rush a counter, in the form of a burning sword from his finger. Bam! Everything shook from the clash, the shockwave of a Sword King level expert turning the town into ruins as it sent dust everywhere. The shockwave was so strong that it blew Morong Shui and Juer away with the dust, falling soon after. Looking up, they saw an unfamiliar view, with nothing but broken pieces everywhere. Brother always knows to hold back, so why? Morong Shui cried out in distress, looking ahead and then shuddering in fright. Moronglai had a solemn gaze in front of the fierce storm, his hand still shaking as lightning crackled along his hand and fingers. In that storm stood Zhuofan holding Chiaoer's hand, with the icy Bali Yu covering them in front. Crash! Juer crawled out of some rubble, looking dazed and overwhelmed from the experience. When she noticed her young miss, she rushed over in panic. Young Miss W, what's going on? Why would Clan Head destroy the town? It wasn't him, forced to give more strength than he wished due to meeting such a powerful opponent. Their clash resulted in what we see around us. Morong Shui shuddered, looking at the trio in the distance with a heavy look. The only ones in this world strong enough to contend with my brother are the best in each land, as well as the Central Area's 9 Sword Kings. But my brother is very familiar with the other land's strongest, which means this sudden opponent has to be a Sword King. Juer gasped in shock as she stared in Bailey Yu's direction with shaky legs. Her heart sank and sweat poured out of her like a waterfall. Young Miss, that was too dangerous, going against a Sword King like that. What if she wanted to kill young Miss? Morong Shui nodded inside. Even I didn't think I'd meet a Sword King here. But if she's a Sword King, then what about Gu Yifan? I have traded blows with him, but he lacked the strength a Sword King had. despite using some baffling skill. He's not even in the Genesis stage. So how did he get a Sword King to save his life? Maybe he's a prince? No, the 9 Sword Kings only listened to the Invincible Sword, and sometimes to their prime minister. They'd ignore even their emperor. Morong Shui sank in thought. Just who was Gu Yifan? He killed a third of the Sword Star Empire's officials, so how is it that he is together with a Sword King? Morong Shui did not understand, while Jouer looked perplexed at her, but then she exclaimed, from shock and fear, oh God, I just talked trash about him, and now he'll send the 9 Sword Kings after me. What should I do? Young miss, I'm too young to die. I told you to not talk without thinking. Now look where it got you. Morong Shui glared at her, then shook her head. But you can relax, knowing that the 9 Sword Kings would assassinate you and turn you into a celebrity overnight. Your death will be worth it. I don't want to be famous. I just want to live. Girl, that ship has sailed. Morong Shui shook her head and gave Jouer a dumb look. Morong Lai and Bali Yu exchanged an attack, thus giving a huge clue to Zhuo Fan's identity. Morong Lai was now on guard, staring constantly at Zhuo Fan, while at the same time filled with the same doubts his little sister had. I heard that there's only one woman among the 9 Sword Kings, Bailey Yu. But I'm afraid I have yet to learn of your great name, having the frigid Rain Sword King for a guard. You have it all wrong, Morong clan head. We're not from the central area, just crossing paths. Please do not jump to conclusions. Zhuo Fan didn't turn around as he gave a composed smile, or it wouldn't have been me talking to you right now, but that invincible sword geezer. Geezer? Morong Lai was taken aback there. All of the central area's nobility and officials worshipped Invincible Sword, with none even daring to speak bad about him. Not even criminals would show anything less than respect to the Patriarch. Yet this guy has no care about all that. Is he not related to the central area? Was there another power besides those obvious experts that can contend with the 9 Sword Kings? Morong Lai was then struck by a crazy thought about Zhuo Fan, and his suspicion fell as a result. Only Bali Yu balled her fists in silent rage. Calling Patriarch names with her around was the same as spitting in her face. Chapter 1001, Sacred Weapon Fight. Chapter 1001, Sacred Weapon Fight. Proofreader, Papatonks. Not letting Zhuo Fan out of his sight, Morong Lai felt very much disturbed, continuing the questioning. As Sir is not from Central Area, who might you be, where do you come from, and what's the purpose of your visit in Northern Lands? I've already said it. We are just passing by. There's no need to look any further. I am not prone to disrespect anyone like today, but the Northern Lands are now in a precarious state, giving me no choice but to insist, sir. And if I still refuse? Zhuo Fan squinted with a thin smile. Morong Lai released his powerful aura, his eyes hard with determination. You'll have to excuse me for detaining you until it's made clear as to who Sir is. Ha ha ha. It seems to me that Ardent Sun Sword God is a bit on the conceited side. Zhuo Fan took Qiaoer's hand and kept on walking, his voice casually reaching Bailey Yu. I'm leaving with Qiaoer. Be sure to catch up later. Morong Lai squinted and acted while shouting. Is Sir just going to leave me hanging? Do I mean nothing to you? Whoosh. Bali Yu made sure to intercept his attempt. Regarding him with a frosty countenance, Morong Lai knew this was coming, and the world around him began to boil as endless fires came into being. The harsh and cold northern lands and its fierce snowstorms turned into a blistering volcano in an instant, the searing heat rising high enough to make lava. The ice and snow that had been growing for centuries around the area instantly turned to steam before vanishing altogether from icy wasteland. The north had become a scorching hell. The world was at Morong Lai's whim's peak Genesis stage, held the power to make all beings in the world unable to escape his grasp, while anyone else would have soiled themselves at such a display. Bali Yu wasn't impressed by the best in southern lands. Her icy stare held sparks. Just before she released her own awe-inspiring power, thunder rumbled incessantly, while the world took a silvery glow. The blistering hell had now started to rumble heavily, turning into a silvery ocean, with lightning sword energy snaking across, promising extreme destruction at the slightest touch. With the world split in two like this, Morong Shui and Jouer gasped. They were sure Bali Yu was strong, but to find out she could be on equal grounds with her big brother was a whole new concept to grasp in an extreme battle of Sword King-level adversaries. No place could offer the slightest amount of cover. Not when the world could shift at any second from their clashes. Ha ha ha. Miss is a true rarity. You truly have the power to stall me. No wonder he was so confident. We could be fighting for days, and there still won't be any result, let alone thinking of following afterward. Looking at the sky split in two from their power, then at the casual Zhuo Fan making his leave, Moronglai laughed, but then his smile turned sinister. You're missing something, however. Miss may be my equal in power, but won't last 10 moves if I'm serious. TCH, you sure know how to brag. Bali Yu sneered. They say the Morong clan head is wise, but now I see you're nothing but an arrogant man. From our earlier exchange, it's clear that none of us hold the advantage, with a victor coming out only when the situation is dire. But it might take years for that to happen. Now the Morong clan head is so cocky to say that in 10 moves you can best me? Ha ha ha. Are my skills so weak compared to your clan's special arts? Moronglai shook his head, giving a vague smile. Miss, there's nothing ordinary about you, having reached a level of power no less than mine. Your clan must have a long legacy, with intricate skills. My clan has earned itself a bit of reputation on the outside, but it's not so conceited as to dismiss every other hero out there. So why then the declaration of 10 moves? Bali Yu gave him a cruel look of contempt. Moronglai sighed and shook his head. It should be my fortune to be able to spar for thousands of blows with such a powerful miss. But in this case, I can't indulge others' requests in favor of harming the northern lands. I only hope Miss would be kind enough to forge me. Moronglai gave a slight gesture of respect, then his face hardened. A seething golden fire came from his hand, coalescing into a 2-meter-long burning golden sword. With its appearance, the world shifted. The inferno around Moronglai surged higher and higher, unleashing its power like a torrential flood upon Bali Yu's silvery side of the world. It took moments to swallow it whole, even the lightning of sword energy whoosh. The world took on scarlet hues, the heat spiking higher and higher, making the very ground hiss under the strain. All the world around them was in Moronglai's grasp, and with the world growing hotter signified his attacks would be that much stronger. Bali Yu's eyes shook and cried. The divine weapon of southern lands, decimating divine sword? Precisely. Moronglai grinned with confidence. He gave it a light wave and held it before him with a sigh. Miss, forgive me for cutting short our fight, taking out the divine sword and claiming victory. But as I've said, I'd be most happy to entertain Miss on any other occasion. Please forgive me. Morong Shui and Zuair lit up with joy that the clan head won. No matter how strong the woman was, the clan head had a rare divine weapon to help him tip the situation in his favor. Unlike the common spiritual weapons everyone else wielded, a divine weapon would only unleash more power the stronger its user was. That meant that with Moronglai just holding the decimating sword, his victory was certain. It validated his earlier challenge of defeating Bali Yu in 10 moves. Zhuo Fan wouldn't be going anywhere. Bali Yu stared hard at Moronglai, biting her lip to match the decimating sword. Patriarch's sundering sword was required. But Patriarch would never let go of his precious, to say nothing of him being nowhere near here. Her loss was set in stone the minute a divine sword was involved. This rotten outcome filled the Sword King with nothing but anger and chagrin. As a fellow practitioner, Moronglai knew her feelings well and sighed. Miss, please disregard this encounter and not take it as a loss. I am forced by circumstances. Moronglai no longer looked at the resentful Bali Yu and regarded Zhuo Fan in the distance. Sir, Miss has already lost. Do you still intend to leave? Why, of course. Zhuo Fan never missed a step. She can't beat you, but it's enough to give me plenty of time. Even a snail would get thousands of miles in that period. Moronglai cocked an eyebrow, then mocked, Stall me? She won't be doing that after 10 moves. Both of you know that. Bali Yu's face sank, her fists clenched tight. If I say she can stall, then that's what she'll do. Don't believe me? Zhuo Fan gave off an evil smirk. Morong clan head, earlier you said your clan has a bit of reputation, but won't disparage other experts. The way I see it, you really are conceited, considering everyone beneath you. Do you consider yourself unique for wielding a divine weapon? Morong Lai's eyebrows shot up and his heart quivered. You can't possibly mean. You guessed it. In this fight, the one who slipped up isn't me but you. Zhuo Fan's eyes shone and a black edge rose from his palm. A scarlet sword with black lines soon came into view. Zhuo Fan threw it at Bali Yuyu. Take it and be sure to enjoy the Morong clan head's fine arts. Chapter 1002, Upheaval. Chapter 1002, Upheaval. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. A black lightning cut the heavens as Bali Yuyu grasped the black sword. Blackness seeped into the scorching world around, giving it eerie hues and vibes. Along with it came creepy sounds, like that of demons, fearful and horrifying. Bali Yuyu stared at the humming sword agape. She could feel its power, its spirit. No less the likes of Patriarch's sundering sword and Morong Lai's decimating sword. This was a divine weapon. But which land did it belong to? Why haven't I heard of it before? Was there a strange divine weapon with black lines among the 5 divine weapons? Morong Lai's brow shook in disbelief. The decimating sword in his hand started humming as well, filled with rage from meeting its archenemy. What's going on with the decimating sword? Looking at the shaking sword in his hand, Morong Lai frowned and his eyes shone. What had the divine weapon so excited? It didn't act like this before, even when meeting other divine weapons. So why now? Zhuo Fan, however, knew the reason the divine weapon got incensed at the appearance of the demonic sword because it was once the vaulting sword. Having changed its looks with the new resident sword spirit, the great 5 sacred weapons had been forged together and now 2 met to find one unrecognizable. Even people would be too shocked for words. Lucky the sword spirits couldn't talk or the vaulting sword would have spat fire. Who the hell are you, bastard, to rob my brother's home? Where is my brother? He, 6 feet under. How did he die? Master wiped him out since he didn't listen to reason. And that was how it went. With a creepy smirk, Zhuo Fan tuned into the 2 swords' alternate humming, supplying his own melodramatic script to fit them. No matter how hostile the swords are, their wielders have no clue whatsoever. You have a divine sword now, so don't just stand there. Attack? The sword humming had the 2 stunned for a moment, and Zhuo Fan's shout pierced their confusion. Bali Yuyu shook and then grinned at the demonic sword, feeling her spirits lifted. She now had the means to give Morong Lai the fight he wanted. With both of us having divine swords, no one can tell the outcome. Bali Yuyu pushed her power through the divine sword, and the humming intensified until an energy shot out of its tip and into the clouds above it. Was a veritable thunderstorm now, with billowing winds and flashes of silver having replaced the predominant scarlet skies. The lightning and the sword energy mixed, spreading around and ripping apart the red clouds of fire. The world had changed once more in mere seconds. Even though the area wasn't that huge, 1/3 of the fire clouds were gone. This proved Bali Yuyu now had the power to outlive the next 10 strikes, while Morong Lai's dominating position had crumbled with the loss of control over the skies. The 2 wielded divine swords, cutting any chance of making such a battle short. Grinning, Zhuo Fan waved and kept walking off with Chower. You 2 take your time and have fun. I'll be going now. Ha ha ha. Morong Lai's face twitched, furious as he watched Zhuo Fan slip away. Then he turned to his opponent, and her evil smile with a sigh. This is going to take some time. Yeah, there's no way 10 moves are enough. Not even 100. Bali Yuyu beamed, rushing Morong Lai, clan head. I've yet to use a divine sword in my life. So now that I have an opponent to match, be sure to go for a couple of rounds with me. Ha ha ha. Curses. Now I'm reduced to being a sparring partner. Morong Lai's face fell inside despite the excited Bali Yuyu coming at him in force. Morong Lai knew there was no stopping Zhuo Fan now and didn't feel like fighting. Though Bali Yuyu found herself with a divine sword for the first time and was too excited not to take it up for a spin, or 2, one disappointed man and one excited woman clashed in a devastating battle. The world shook, the ground quaked, lightning roiled and an inferno backed the skies. This Sword King level fight now got a boost in the form of divine swords, unleashing an upheaval upon the world around them, as if the end of days was upon this wretched world. Everything ceased to exist wherever the 2 ended up crossing swords, with plenty of other places ending up wrecked from just their auras. Such a battle had never been witnessed before, especially if one was sensible enough to care for their lives in front of such relentless destruction and onslaught. Murong Shui and Juer scrambled away the instant they knew things were about to go down, not even sparing a glance back at the incredible and equally deadly display of raw power. The explosions alone could deafen them permanently, though even the speedy escape proved to be slow, as many times they were about to be engulfed in the aftermath of a 1-2 strong clash, and remain here forever as corpses. Zhuofan vanished as the smoke and dust grew prevalent, giving Murong Shui no chance to find him. The battle had the added benefit of wiping his trail, with everyone stuck in finding out just who this mystery man was. Ahead of the billowing smoke stopped a carriage, and Zhuofan got in with Chower before it went on its way. The guards glanced at Zhuofan, then at the Upheaval outside with shock and doubt. "Holy hell, sir, what happened?" "We just finished our business in Galefrost Town, and a hail of icicles struck, forcing us to flee. Then, just like Sir said, the whole town got wrecked, and we were worried about your safety. And now the world is going for destruction, with the skies filled with lightning and fire. Nothing to be concerned about, you just drive the carriage. Frigid Rain Sword King is only fighting Murong Lai." Zhuofan dismissed his worry with a smile. The others gasped at the news. Ardent Sunsword God Murong Lai. How on earth did you meet him? What happened? "It's nothing, just got in his sights." Zhuofan made light of things once more, but then he coughed blood. The others were panicking. "Sir? Father?" Yu Chower was worried. Zhuofan eased a breath and slipped a pill in his mouth from his ring. "It's fine. I just settled a favor. We can go now." Chower knew the truth and sighed, hugging him in worry. The world around them still shook a lot. The shockwaves from two Sword Kings battling, spreading destruction in every direction. Only a carriage pulled by 4 panicking third-level spiritual beasts was left. 10 days later, the wind and snow battered the road, with a sudden person flashing before a speeding carriage, easily slipping inside. Seeing who was back, everyone lit up. "Miss Yu, you're finally back. Sir had been worried about you all this time." "Haha, worried?" Looking at the pale Zhuofan, Bali Yu smirked. "He's better off looking after himself. He's the one hurt here, judging by that ashen face, right?" Zhuofan smiled. "My soul got a slight wound and will be fine in a month, idiot." Bali Yu shook her head, mocking him. "You just had to use your soul against Murong Shui. Now look where it got you. Of course your soul will be damaged from her attack." Zhuofan chuckled. "I wanted to return the favor, and the only way to do that was by taking her fatal blow." Chapter 1003, Fooled. Chapter 1003, Fooled. Proofreader, Papatonks. "You used to be so shrewd till now, so why are you stupid all of a sudden?" Bali Yu mocked him. "Weren't you scared she might have just destroyed your soul and body?" "Ha ha ha, this much is nothing to the ordeals I've gone through to get here." Zhuofan eased a long breath. "When you return the favor, you have to be sincere, giving the other the chance to have a life for the one he had given you. Only this time, my twin souls were too strong for even her full power to destroy. My dragon soul might be hurt, but my domain can absorb all the harm, within limit. Anyway, I got my life back." Bali Yu gasped. "You're such a weirdo, returning a favor at the cost of your life. In any other situation, I could have returned the favor easily, but she and I walk different paths. She not only disdains my help, but even if I could help her, it would only smear her beliefs, doing more harm than good. Thus the only choice was a life for a life. Though I still have uses for mine and can't just give it up, happy with just offering the chance for her to take it. It's her problem if she falls short of success, but all debts have been paid." Bali Yu blinked in confusion. "That's one fresh outlook you have that I never seen before. Paying debt can be reduced to just finding inner peace. I don't owe anyone, and neither does anyone owe me. Breaking the ties that bind is nothing more than a formality, so long as my heart achieves tranquility. True, grudges and gratitudes are all about the heart. Why bother haggling over how when the stress is dealt with?" Bali Yu nodded, then turned solemn. "What say I give you a chance to get rid of another tie?" Zhuofan gave her a long look. "What are you up to? What tie are you talking about?" "Why, a favor as great as the heavens themselves." She rushed over to his side and she looked Zhuofan right in the eye. "What do you think of me, Qian?" Shuddering, Everyone in the carriage looked at frigid rain snow king with dumb looks. What's this sword king doing? Confessing? Curses, she's truly daring taking initiative like that. Unlike any woman I know. Wait, that's just like a sword king. All eyes were now on Zhuofan, dropping obvious hints, sir. Getting on with a sword king won't just help you but also ourselves immensely. Look how eager she is, so just accept it. While she's a bit wild, she has loads of power as well to cower anyone. Glaring at them to stay out of it, Zhuofan looked into Bali Yuyu's hopeful eyes. Miss Yuyu, what are you saying? Just what I meant. What do you usually think of me? Nothing much. Zhuofan blurted in a flat tone. Bali Yuyu's face twitched and yanked his clothes. Nothing much? Would you like to try that again? Now, Miss Yuyu, let's not get hasty. Sir has always been blunt, so please don't jump to anger. The others noticed the wild woman was about to flip and rushed to placate her. Bali Yuyu paused in thought, then let Zhuofan go. She steadied her heart and gave her sweetest smile. Sir Qian, your words are so hurtful. You don't look like a saint and certainly don't act like one either, but you have one redeeming quality, being grateful. You'd even give your life to return another's gratitude. I am a woman who respects men with such traits. Out with it, woman, and don't dawdle. Zhuofan huffed. Bali Yuyu's lip twitched in anger and glared at him. Her fists clenched, but she managed to get all that frustration out of her with one long breath. Her face maintained the warmth she started with as she judged. What I mean is, Qian, to protect you back in Galefrost Town, I had to face Morong Lai all by myself. Didn't I save your life? So shouldn't you be grateful? Nope. Why? You're a guard Bailey Yuntian gave me, and you just did your duty. How's that anything like saving my life? Zhuofan spoke with confidence. Bali Yuyu's heart sank, but she still gave it another try. You caused that mess back in Galefrost Town. Why else would Morong Lai meet us? Since I handled it for you, the least you can do is return the favor. Like I said, you're working for me now, so everything is part of your job description, included, but not limited to, obedience and protection. How is that a favor? Zhuofan looked at her longing eyes as he drawled. Besides, any extra reward I was to give you I already did in Galefrost Town. You'd have been beaten black and blue by now if it weren't for my divine sword, right? I just saved your reputation and your life. Now ain't that the highest gratitude? But that was obvious, since you couldn't escape otherwise. As you master, anything I give you, if ever, isn't out of gratitude, but favor. It is you who should be grateful to me, for what's yours is mine, as a servant. Booping Bali Yuyu's nose, Zhuofan had an evil smile while defining her responsibilities, then asked, Oh right, where's my demonic sword? Why haven't you given it back? Bali Yuyu twisted and placed her hands behind her while shying away in hesitation. Zhuofan's brow shook, noticing the sword strapped to her waist, then and held out his hand. Give it here now? I was just going to ask you that maybe, perhaps, I can keep it? Bali Yuyu pleaded shyly. The other's eyes widened in realization. Frigid Rain Sword King, she's been wishy-washy all this time, but not to confess at all. How boring. And you got us all hopeful for nothing. Everyone rolled their eyes and looked elsewhere. Only Zhuofan saw her intent from the start and mocked. Keep it? Do you have any idea what this is? You tell me if your Patriarch is willing to let you even touch the Sundering Sword. It's because divine swords are so rare that only now I've wielded one for the first time and experienced the power it filled me with. Bali Yuyu looked excited once more. Oh, I also heard there's only 5 divine swords around. How come you have the 6th? Zhuofan glanced at her and jeered. Who told you that there's only 5 of them? More like there's only 5 in the secular world. Secular world? You mean there's more divine swords in the world beyond? Of course. Let me tell you. All of these divine swords come from Devil Mountain. Zhuofan huffed with a wide grin. Bali Yuyu started. Shaken to the core, Devil Mountain made the 5 lands divine swords? Well, yes. The masters will make the disciples about to leave Devil Mountain a sword specific to their skill set. The 5 lands divine swords are nothing but weapons left behind by the ones that perished. Zhuofan smacked his lips, weaving a shocking tale of adulation. Bali Yuyu was dumbstruck. needing a long time to react and hold the demonic sword tight to herself while pleading, "Then you can just leave this one to me while you can ask your master to make you another. You think it's that easy? Why would it be called a divine sword if it's so easy to make?" Zhuofan rolled his eyes at her. "Who won in Galefrost Town?" Morong Lai. Bailey Yu hesitated, then pouted. "We fought for 8 days, but still I couldn't beat him, so I left. And since we're about the same, he couldn't stop me nor catch up to me." Zhuofan nodded and asked, "Your Morong Lai's equal and could fight him for years. Why did you run after just 8 days?" "How am I his equal? He's been using the decimating sword for 1,000 years, while I only just got yours. I couldn't even link with it either. Of course I lost." "Isn't that obvious?" Zhuofan shrugged. "The demonic sword was made with me in mind, so of course it's in tune with me. You learned from Bailey Yuntian's sundering sword, and that's the sword best for you while mine is useless. But Patriarch will never give me the sundering sword, while even the unfamiliar divine sword you have is better than having none at all. Sword follows your will, so you need one in tune to your being too. Using a random sword, especially this divine sword, will only hinder your path." Zhuofan dismissed her request. "Listen, if you obey me and succeed in the task Devil Mountain gave me, I'll be sure to take you back with me so that Master would make you a divine sword akin to Sundering Sword to fit your nature." Zhuofan made a sign, and the demonic sword slipped into his body. He then glanced at the cheerful Bali Yu with a hidden smile. Power and fame can blind people so easily, turning even this silly girl into being obsessed with the sword. She not once questioned if divine swords are so easy to make. Besides, when was the last time I've been honest? Chapter 1004, Light's Shadow. Chapter 1004, Light's Shadow. Proofreader, Papatonks. As the carriage rushed along the snowy roads, the mood within was as peaceful as ever. Bali Yu hugged the cute and adorable Chower, while Zhuofan finally started to grow on her. She exclaimed all of a sudden and said hastily, "Oh, Morong Lai couldn't find my intentions, but he can easily find yours. Maybe he's searching for it right now and gaining on us. Now that he got a feel of my skills, I can't stall him for long. I can only protect myself, so you need to watch out." "Heh, only now you're worried about me? Who would? But with you dead, who knows when I'll ever get the chance to touch such a precious divine sword again." Bali Yu went red and Zhuofan shook his head, turning to the others. "How far till the next stop?" "Sir, we will be arriving at Sea Cloud Sect in around 4 hours. Go faster." Zhuofan smiled as he said. Bali Yu's brow shook. "Weren't you listening? Morong Lai must have been looking for you by now. And since he lost our trail, he'll be sure to ask Sea Cloud Sect for help since it's the closest to Galefrost Town. Are you going there to get caught?" "My dear Frigid Rain Sword King, you think I haven't thought about it as well? Then, ha ha ha, do you know of the Light's Shadow?" Zhuofan put on a vague smile, laying down without a care. Bali Yu was then left utterly confused. 4 hours later, the carriage went on undisturbed and reached a frozen waterfall where they slowed down and entered a barrier at the same time. 3 people stood in an opulent hall. The same 3 they just shook off not long ago. Before them stood an old man with an immortal air and white beard, bowing in respect. "Sword God Morong of Southern Lands and Immortal Healer Morong, you honor my sect with your visit. But from what I know, Sir should be with Seabright Sect, getting ready with Sir Ouyang to fight Invincible Sword. What wind has brought you here instead?" "It's a long story." Morong Lai sighed. "I had been staying at Seabright Sect in preparation for the upcoming storm, but something happened. Northern Land's first line of defense, Sunsea Sect, had been under attack and called for help. So I volunteered to go, only to find the sect already in ruins, with the survivors escaping for the Seabright Sect. I have thus scouted around for the culprit that did this." "Isn't it obvious? The only one who can destroy a Northern Lands sect can only be Invincible Sword's team. As you already know, he has those 9 Sword Kings under him who can cause such destruction just as well." "Yeah, that was my conclusion as well. While I could not take them on by myself, at least by understanding their journey, maybe we could be prepared for the next time." But Morong Lai frowned at the end. Filled with hesitation and confusion, the old man urged, "What? Did Morong clan head find something else disturbing? Precisely. Morong Lai had a dark look on his face. There's another group that might have come within the northern lands besides Invincible swords. The old man shuddered and gasped. Morong clan head. You mean to tell me there's another power out there that can do away with the northern lands sect just as easily as the central area? And that it is now here, on our grounds? That's absurd. We all know very well all of the strongest people in the Five Lands. With the central area eyeing us like a starved tiger, the other four lands allied together. How can there possibly be a third faction so strong? I didn't believe it was true either, but having seen it with my own eyes, I must. Morong Lai squinted and sighed. As I was investigating Sun Sea sect, the trail took me to Galefrost Town where I happened to meet my sister in a dispute with an unknown party. I wanted to investigate further, but they were exceptional. A woman among them is as strong as me and wielded a divine weapon, unlike any of which the lands knew. We fought for 8 days to a standstill. It might have gone on for years if the divine weapon was a match for her skill. The old man's face twitched and looked graceful. She must be something indeed to fight Morong clan head with a divine weapon to a standstill. However, what makes you so sure they aren't from the central area? Maybe that sword might have been the Sundering sword. Sect leader Liang, my brother has once met with the Invincible sword and has seen the Sundering sword. On top of that, Invincible sword guards the sword with his life, never giving it to anyone. Morong Shui gave a bow of respect and intervened with sharp eyes. I've once seen the man within their group, once. He unleashed a river of blood in the central area, making it so that in just 3 days, the greatest company, Serene Shores Trading, was destroyed, and the Sword Star Empire to lose close to half their officials. Would someone from the same land resort to such cruelty towards his fellow compatriot? The old man's brow shook, but hesitated still. What I hear from you, miss, is that he is from the third faction. But since he struck at the central area, wouldn't that make him a friend? No. Morong Shui spoke resolutely. He is ruthless and cruel, of a twisted mind and insidious cunning. Just because he left the central area in pain does not mean his visit to northern lands bodes well. Maybe he wants northern lands to end up in the same sorry state as the central area, if not worse. You can't let this happen, sect leader Liang. Morong Lai agreed with his sister's judgment. I've also seen him myself, of steady calm, great talent and sharp mind. His bearing points to anything but average. Not to mention he has a Sword King level expert under him. When he acts, he's bound to make huge waves. We are still in the dark about the purpose of his visit, but it's best to gain control of the situation as soon as possible. We are on the cusp of waging war with Invincible sword and can't afford anything to disturb us, especially a viper staring us from the back. Morong clan head, you're right. We need to gain control of this as soon as possible. The beard of sect leader Liang shook as he sank in thought. Then he cupped his hands. Then what has brought Morong clan head to my sect? Ask and I shall do all in my power to help. Morong Lai returned the gesture with a smile. Sect leader Liang is too kind. I've come to ask for a helping hand. I had fought with the woman guard before, giving them time to flee, and because of the scope of destruction, all trails went cold. I alone will find it hard to search through so much ground, but I'm fortunate to find your sect nearby and wish to ask sect leader Liang's help in this endeavor. Please, it's our duty to help. Morong clan head works so hard for the safety of our homeland that you needn't be so polite about it. Sect leader Liang cupped his hands. What may be their description? Morong Shui said, they're a group of 3. The woman among them is very dangerous and needs only to be seen to know their whereabouts. Beside the man, there's also a 7-year-old cute girl, making them easily recognizable. Ha, then rest easy. My disciples shall roam for thousands of miles and are sure to spot such a conspicuous group very soon. As for the lady's worries, rest assured that we know restraint and not incite anyone that could fight with Morong clan head for 8 days straight. Miss Morong needn't have mentioned, as we would also be weary and keep our distance, Morong Shui smiled and nodded, while Morong Lai looked satisfied with the answer. Cupping his hands in respect, the order was soon given and the sect was on the move. With all kinds of exceptional experts filling the skies and leaving the sect to scout the lands in their haste, they failed to notice the 4 carriages at their gates, and Zhuofan holding chower as he talked business with a round middle-aged man glancing at the swarm of people flying out. Zhuofan felt the need to comment. "Executive Qi, what's going on in the sect? Are you getting ready for war going out in such force?" "How would I know? I didn't get any orders." Putting his own signature into a jade slip and giving it back to Zhuofan, the large horizontally challenged man looked at a flying disciple that passed by. "Hey, what happened? Why the sudden deployment?" Making a hard stop, the man bowed to the fatty. "Executive Qi, sect leader decreed to scout for spies. They've even brought a child." "A child? Like this one?" Zhuofan pointed at Shower. "This is my daughter. Isn't she adorable?" The man gave a curious glance at the fatty, who waved his doubts away and introduced Steward Qian, in charge of his clan's supply caravan. "You can't be looking for him now, can you? Ha ha ha." Bali Yuyu stuck out her tongue, acting cute, then turned shy with an apologetic look. Zhuofan rolled his eyes, wincing every time he touched his swollen shoulder with a hurt look. "All I wanted was to move undetected through northern lands. But then I stumbled into Invincible Sword and barely made it out alive before meeting Ardent's son Sword God as well. I talked my way out with Invincible Sword, since his desires are his demons I could leverage. But that Murong clan is too upright, in opposition of my path, not easily swayed. Ardent's son Sword God has just become a pain in my side. Damn it. Those truly righteous and free from desire cultivators just don't fit with my nature. This will make things harder. Ugh." Taking a deep breath, Zhuofan leaned back with closed eyes. The 4 carriages didn't stop for anything in their journey, making their scheduled stops at the sects and then resuming their trek. 5 months passed by in total, before Zhuofan reached his final destination, having gone through 2 more sects, the North Seashore, Sea Bright sect regarding the boundless snow mountain in the distance. Zhuofan sighed, his gaze quivering. "Are your tokens ready?" "Ready," the men shouted with conviction. Only Bali Yuyu smirked at them. Sea Bright sect is one dangerous place. It's packed with experts, and leaves me no choice but to stay a bit further this time. Frigid Rain Sword King, that won't be necessary. One guard revealed a familiar token, identical to the ones they have, and smiled. 3 days ago we received your token we requested in that town. Now you're no longer unaccounted for and can come with us." Bali Yuyu was shocked, then her eyes shone. "Since it was 3 days ago, why not give it to me then? Sir had me hold on to it, to make it a surprise." The guy shrugged and Bali Yuyu skipped a beat as she looked at Zhuofan. Zhuofan grinned. "Not much of a surprise, really. With how Frigid Rain Sword King always acts alone, it was clear you didn't want such a thing. Now I'm unsure if Sword King would be willing to come with us, to walk beside us with this cover. But it seems my worries are unfounded. Ha ha ha. Humph, who'd ever go with you? I was just concerned about bringing trouble to you and ruining my mission." "Does that mean Frigid Rain Sword King doesn't want to come in with us? You don't want the token? Then go ahead, destroy it." "I never said that. Why ruin a perfectly good thing anyway?" Bali Yuyu rushed to take it and glared at Zhuofan. Zhuofan smiled, his eyes shining. "But by taking that token, you are officially part of this team and must obey my orders." Bali Yuyu shook and her grip on the token loosened. But then she gripped it harder, whispering to herself, "Haven't I been doing it already? Great. Now everyone's an official team." Zhuofan turned serious and shouted, "So I'll ask again, are everyone's token ready?" "Ready." Everyone shouted this time. Even Bali Yuyu looked eager. She was going to enter one of Northern Land's 5 sects for the first time undercover, while being part of a caravan was a severe step down from a Sword King. She actually treasured the change for some odd reason, having traveled with Zhuofan and the caravan for so long began to grow on her. Zhuofan looked at them and ordered, towards North Seashore. They all nodded and the carriage rumbled uphill, for the snowy peak. Chapter 1006, Perfect Couple. Chapter 1006, Perfect Couple. Proofreader, Papatonks. Zhuofan's team of 4 carriages made a ripple in the air as it entered the barrier, appearing before a vast body of water. Above it were suspended stairs leading to the abodes of immortals. The mountain was nowhere to be seen, replaced by 3 floating islands of great expanse, as its only resemblance to the image outside this was where the strongest sect in the northern lands stood. The North Sea's shores, while deep in the North Sea, was the rumored demon of incredible power, and Zhuo Fan's target, the monsters of the sea, were mere spiritual beasts, with only this demon able to speak like a human. That was why people called it Sea Demon. Only Zhuo Fan here knew the Sea Demon was in fact one of the 5 great sacred beasts, the only one that could save young Sanzi. The heaven-sealing CAO staring at the great rolling expanse of water, Zhuo Fan's eyes shook and his fists clenched. Xiaoer looked excited as well, finally able to rescue her big brother Whoosh. Black figures suddenly dropped before the team, numbering in the dozens. The leader was an old man with a black and white mustache, presenting them a most kind smile as he greeted, "Thank you, Qian clan, for the trouble you went through delivering these goods. I am Executive Dai Qianqiu of the Sea Bright sect." Dai Qianqiu? Money trouble. Hee. Bali Yu couldn't help herself and giggled at his name, whispering to Zhuo Fan, "Qian, you finally met your half. You dislike money and he's in need of money. A match made in heaven. You're destined to make the perfect couple. Hi. Smiley face. She's making fun of both of their names, making a pun out of it. The others chuckled as well, glaring at her. Zhuo Fan gave a wry smile and returned the gesture. "Executive Dai, I am but a steward in the Qian clan, Qian Fan. This is the proof of all the sects we've passed." Zhuo Fan presented a jade slip with both hands. The executive wasn't haughty in the least, taking it with equal respect and a smile. "Yes, these are the signatures of the 4 sects executives. Sir is beyond reproach, but the others? Hurry up and present your tokens to the executive." Zhuo Fan snapped at them to obey, making them flustered as they rushed to follow his orders. Only Bali Yu was beyond casual as she took it out and threw it to the man with a roll of her eyes glaring at her. Zhuo Fan could only apologize in her stead. "Executive Dai, she just went through menopause and it's still unstable." "Screw you." Bali Yu hissed under her breath. Executive Dai gave a careless wave, being quite easygoing. He checked their tokens and smiled. "You make for a perfect couple, Steward Qian, braving through so many dangers through the now precarious northern lands to send us these goods. That's very noble of you." "Perfect couple?" Zhuo Fan looked stumped. "Did I say something wrong?" The old man scanned the jade slip in his hand again before looking at Zhuo Fan. 3 days ago we received an update on the Qin clan's roster that the caravan sending us the goods will be led by Steward Qian Fan and his wife, Qian Yu. Your signatures also check out. Is there perhaps a problem?" Dong. Zhuo Fan froze on the spot at the heavy blow to his mind. He made a weird face as he tried to keep his calm. "You mean, Qian Fan and Qian Yu, husband and wife, are escorting goods?" Bali Yu was also stupefied, looking at the old man with a dumb look. When reality hit her at long last, she gave Zhuo Fan a seething look with a red face as she shouted, "You dare use me like that, punk? As if I'm as clueless about this as you are, all right? Lies. Aren't they just doing your bidding?" "Yeah, they do. But this time?" Zhuo Fan's mouth twitched, looking off there, then turned to the rest with an insidious glint in his eyes. Zhuo Fan had principles. When it came to taking a wife, he would never do it on a whim, even if it was all fake. Just like how he didn't do it with Shangguan Qingyan. But this time, at this critical moment, he found himself stuck with this cover, putting him at an impasse on what he should do next. If he did go with it, his heart would be totally against it, while refusing it, then his cover was blown. He was in a real pickle. The caravan guards saw Zhuo Fan and Bali Yu looking dark there and were tense as they lowered their heads. Executive Dai frowned. "Why, aren't you married?" The two were silent, with neither willing to admit it. Executive Dai was perplexed, feeling the odd situation and raising his suspicion. He withdrew slowly and was about to signal for his men to seize them. Everything was about to fall to ruin. Even with Bali Yu there to help, it wouldn't matter much in the strongest sect in northern lands. Not only Ouyang Lingtian lived here, but it also held the strongest experts in these parts. Bali Yu had no way of fending so many attackers. She would end up defeated for sure in this dire situation. Neither Zhuo Fan nor Bali Yu were willing to compromise and save the day, all because their hearts were against it. Dai Qianqiu's suspicion only grew. His hand close to signaling the men and ruining everything they worked for. The guards were shivering at the side, looking at the two with pleading eyes. Please, just save us. Is it that bad to fake being married? It's not a hanging, so why? If you keep silent any longer, we're really going to get the noose. They were almost wetting themselves as they saw Executive die, about to give the damning order. Dad, Mom, I'm hungry. Are you going to keep arguing until I starve? Shower jumped in with her adorable voice, looking annoyed and grumbling at the two. The guards lit up with newfound hope. One of them rushed to Shower's side and carried her over to Executive Die with a smile. Executive Die? How can they be anything but husband and wife? Look, they even have a child. Then what are they doing? Dai Qianqiu asked in suspicion. The guard laughed and sighed. It all started over nothing and escalated, with Steward Qian even threatening to leave her. Now their fighting still hasn't been settled. Oh, I see. Executive Dai gave a knowing nod and his suspicion was washed away. He smiled at Zhuofan. Steward Qian, it takes years to accept someone and decades to fully be at peace with one's partner. Why must you insist over trivialities? Zhuofan glanced at Bali Yu and said, She's not my wife. Well, you're not my man either. Bali Yu glared back. The two spoke the truth, but Dai Qianqiu heard it as nothing more than a lover's spat, so he shook his head and waved. You need to stop fighting, especially before a child. Ha ha ha. It wouldn't help her. Since you've all been weary from your long journey here, we've got a place ready for you to rest for a few days. You're welcome to tour our sect if you want. The North Sea shore is magnificent, with people from northern lands hardly having the chance to see its beauty. You won't find this anywhere else. Thank you for everything, Executive Dai. Zhuofan's eyes roamed around and settled on a grunt, recalling his true objective and giving the man a bow. Dai Qianqiu smiled and had someone lead the way to their stay. One figure suddenly appeared just then, whispering to Dai Qianqiu. His face changed and blocked Zhuofan's way. Steward Qian, sect leader, requests myself and Sir's presence. Zhuofan and the others' faces fell. What would the high and mighty sect leader of the Sea Bright sect want to do with a nobody steward? Were their covers blown? Zhuofan looked at Bali Yu, who had a cold gaze, with murder slowly filling her eyes. Chapter 1007. Ling Yuntian. Chapter 1007. Ling Yuntian. Proofreader, Papatonks. Don't make any hasty decisions. I'll go see what's going on. Zhuofan squinted and took a deep breath as he made a decision, sending that message to his team. The others flinched and nodded. Bali Yu's eyes darted around, sizing everything, before nodding at last. A blown cover means we'd have been detained by now with far more experts surrounding us. Not to mention they'd never ask for you to speak. It's too early to tell what is going on, while also not grounded enough to rule out the possibility that Moronglai wants to look into us. So you need to get ready to act at any second. I'll leave Shower in your care. Zhuofan's eyes shone, his face grave. What about you? I have my own way of escape, don't worry. Bali Yu asked quickly, at which Zhuofan replied casually. I'm going. They watched tensely as Zhuofan flew with Dai Qianqiu towards the highest floating island while a disciple took them to their rooms. An hour later, Zhuofan and Dai Qianqiu were standing before a huge gate, with hundreds of disciples standing guard on each side. The gate reached 30 meters in height, with 9,999 copper insertions in the shape of a yin-yang symbol to show the natural order of the world. Dai Qianqiu regarded the broad gate and bowed. Zhuofan figured it had to be a custom, giving respect to the sect. A traveler stopping by needs to show respect as well, and might even leave a good impression. So Zhuofan did the same, standing straight. After doing it 3 times, Dai Qianqiu gave an approving nod, showing a sincere nod as he spoke with reverence at the gate. Sect leader, Steward Qian has arrived. Enter. Rumble. With a loud rumble, the gate cracked open. The 2 rows of disciples bowed at once, all shouting at Zhuofan. Please. Steward Qian, after you. Dai Qianqiu smiled and gestured, not unlike the disciples. Zhuofan sighed at this huge welcome. This is the Sea Bright sect, the strongest of the sects in northern lands. Yet the bigger they are, the more aware they are of giving respect and receiving it, instead of acting all cocky. He was but a merchant, yet the Sea Bright sect's sect leader showed such deference. This was proof enough to label the Seabright sect as reasonable and righteous as Morongli. That also meant they would never act unless the proof was conclusive, which works great for me. While meeting with an impulsive sect, they only needed to believe he was bad news, and he was finished. Things aren't for the worst yet. Zhuofan speculated as he smiled at Dai Qianqiu and walked forward with the executive behind as he climbed the 999 steps up. The disciples always set their eyes on him. Yet none held the slightest contempt. This was the way Seabright sect welcomed guests. Regardless of profession, Zhuofan saw a grand hall and 3 people waiting for him. Only with one of them he was acquainted. Executive Chao from the Sun Sea sect. Zhuofan had a clear picture of what this was all about. Ha. So it's him. It's nothing then. And here I thought Ardent Sun Sword God was going to welcome me. God, that gave me a fright. Sect leader, he's the one that made Sun Sea sect suffer so much. He must be a Central Area spy. Executive Chao instantly pointed fingers and accused Zhuofan the moment he appeared. He was boiling with rage and murder, wanting to spill his blood. Then and there Zhuofan ignored him and his whining. Walking before the 3 and bowing, a middle-aged man spoke to an elder next to him. Sect leader Ling. It seems the boy is pleading guilty under Executive Chao's accusations. We need to take him back for thorough questioning and appease the thousands of lost souls of my sect. Steward Qian, I take it. I am the sect leader of the Sunbright sect, Ling Yuntian. The old man gave Zhuofan a long look, but didn't let the middle-aged man's words get to him. Or stop the greeting. Zhuofan faked shock and bowed as well. Sect leader Ling said, Does Steward Qian have anything to say regarding Executive Chao's accusations? Accusations? Zhuofan sneered. I have no idea of them. What are they? You dare lie to our faces? Executive Chao's accusations are clear to everyone here. You have nothing to say for yourself that can absolve you, and we all know it. Yet you dare act oblivious? Sect leader Ling, he. The middle-aged man shouted, snapping at Zhuofan with his finger, but Zhuofan regarded him calmly and saluted Ling Yuntian. Sect leader Ling made the introductions. Steward Qian, he is Sun Sea sect leader, Bu Xingyu. You have delivered goods to Sun Sea sect, but didn't meet with sect leader Bu, so you don't know him. Ha. Oh, sect leader Bu. Greetings. Ha. Zhuofan saluted at once. Sect leader Ling, there's a misunderstanding here that I wish to clarify. Executive Chao is someone I have met in Sun Sea sect, but I don't know when he came to your sect. When I have just arrived here, I've only been hearing Executive Chao's curses, and it got me completely confused. I wish for nothing more than to understand why this happened, but since this is Sir's home and I am a mere guest, it is proper manners to see the sect leader and not start arguing. Zhuofan put on a sinister smile, mocking Executive Chao. I may be a mere merchant, but I am educated enough not to start a fight in another's home. At the very least, I'll need sect leader's approval first to prove my innocence and shed light. Acting like a mangy cur, in the master's home no less, won't that make him disrespectful? I may not be well read, but my parents had at least taught me proper respect. Ugh. Executive Chao choked, looking red as a crab. Zhuofan was talking with the sect leader, but kept poking holes in his attitude, and the problem was that it was all true. It was sect leader Ling's home, yet he started shouting at Zhuofan. It mattered not if Zhuofan was a spy, not when he was dissatisfied with the Seabright sect. Unlike Zhuofan, he gave no respect to the sect leader, and since the sect leader wasn't some nobody, but the sect leader of the strongest sect in northern lands, the same man he was relying on as well. Executive Chao's face twitched hard, looking pained as he regarded Bu Xingyun's dark face. Sect leader, I didn't mean. You're talking to the wrong person. Bu Xingyun spoke coldly. Executive Chao bowed to Ling Yuntian. Sect leader Ling, forgive me. Please don't believe this man's nonsense. How could I ever disregard the head of the sects in northern lands, Seabright sect? I was just caught in the moment. Fine. Executive Chao is an impulsive man. I understand. Ha. Ling Yuntian dismissed his worries as he smiled. Zhuofan cocked an eyebrow. The old guy really is kinda not even be irked by that. Seabright sect's name as the best sect in northern lands isn't unfounded after all. Just look at their sect leader. If the head was weak, the rest would crumble. With the sect leader so collected, it's only natural that the Seabright sect became the one to lead the other 5 sects in northern lands. Zhuofan stared into those kind eyes and felt unease, having failed to stir his emotions and lead the talks. The danger comes not from Executive Chow nor Bu Xingyun, but sect leader Ling. Chapter 1008. Leading. Chapter 1008. Leading. Proofreader. Papatonks. Bu Xingyun never let Zhuo Fan out of his sight. Staring with a murderous gaze and clenched fists, he only listened to Executive Chow's account and brought him here to recognize the culprit to use some excuse to make it better for his sect. The 5 sects of northern lands were doing fine so far, so how come you just had to poke a central area Sword King to get your home wasted? Was it bad leadership, or no leadership? Just hearing it would irk his mood. There was also the matter of reputation, which had received a serious blow. Only he had his sect, which became ruined under his lead and would be lauded as a laughingstock for years to come. If not eternity, he had to think of something, anything. Something along the lines of giving himself for the good of northern lands, fighting tooth and nail with central area spies, only to be betrayed and ending up in this sorry state. Now the joke would catch a heroic vibe that would turn jeers into calls of respect, and it would be the grounds for extra support in recovering as well. This was the script he wanted to play. Catch the spy, get the reward, and restore the sect to shut everyone up. Though it seemed that someone was improvising in his little act, shifting the focus of the play. Executive Chow just spoke up and Zhuo Fan mocked him for disrespecting Seabright sect. Having no manners, the problem was, it affected him as well by association since he was the sect leader. As he also started ranting without Ling Yuntian's accord. But Ling Yuntian was nice enough to keep mute about it, but he already tasted his disrespect and felt their unkind attitude for Seabright sect. You can't follow simple etiquette as a sect leader and executive while a mere merchant can? I can only assume from this that you got destroyed for very good reasons, provoking the other into attacking with your arrogance. Loose tongues end lives. He not only gained nothing but lost instead, falling out of favor with the big boss. Bu Xingyun's anger surged as consequence. From seeing Zhuo Fan as a pawn to use in his favor, to hating his guts, he glared hard at Zhuo Fan, then spoke to Ling Yuntian. Sect leader Ling, my executive has gotten ahead of himself, and I'll be sure to address this back at the sect. But Steward Qian has yet to answer his questions. Would it be possible for sect leader Ling to help? Ha, that is why we're here. Ling Yuntian laughed and still spoke on a kind tone while saluting. Steward Qian is such a courteous man. Having just arrived at my sect, I should play the host and honor your, but some problems have appeared that need Steward Qian's input. I can only ask that you forgive my insistence. Zhuo Fan smiled. You're too kind, sect leader Ling. It's my honor to be of any help to you. Yeah, sect leader, Steward Qian has bowed alongside me before the great gates. He is a respectful man and is sure to not mind this slight inconvenience. Dai Qianqiu at the side bowed and said anyone else would become suspicious. What's his relationship with Qianfan? Why is he taking his side? But he wasn't speaking for Qianfan at all, reporting instead to sect leader Ling of his equally respectful demeanor that he reciprocated with at everyone's salute. Just because Zhuo Fan had bowed with Dai Qianqiu before the gates, Dai Qianqiu spoke up so that sect leader would keep this in mind. Otherwise, with Qianfan being a mere merchant, the others could have easily pushed him for answers. Now, however, Ling Yuntian was present as well, and Bu Xingyun couldn't use force. Zhuo Fan's act was a minor one, yet the effect was grand. Gaining Seabright sect's protection, this became evident with Ling Yuntian's following words. Steward Qian is thoughtful. Bu Xingyun's face twitched, looking at the 3 of them with a sigh. Knowing force wouldn't help him here, he would have to use guile. Giving Executive Chow a look, the executive caught on and started shouting, Qian, I want an honest answer. When the Sun Sea sect was destroyed, did you draw that witch, Frigid Rain Sword King, over? Frigid Rain Sword King? Zhuo Fan looked shocked. I never met her, so how could I've drew her? Executive Chow sneered. You're still lying? Then answer this. Didn't you say that when you were delivering goods to our sect that a central area spy was following you? Yes. Then you asked me to go grab the spy, right? I guess. Zhuo Fan muttered with a frown and a hesitant nod. Executive Chow clapped in success. Yes, that's right. We went to capture the spy, but it turned out to be Frigid Rain Sword King from the central area. This led her to attack our sect, slaughtering everyone. If you didn't draw the witch, who did? Sect leader Ling. Everything's clear now. I ask that you seize this spy and find out what else has he been leaking through thorough interrogation. Guard, arrest this man. Throw him in prison and activate the barriers so he can't escape. Bu Xingyun shouted eagerly. Dai Qianqiu cleared his voice with a bow. Sect leader Bu, you're in Seabright sect. Oh, right. It's sect leader Ling's right to issue this order. Forgive me, I forgot myself. Sect leader Ling. Waking up from his blunder, Bu Xingyun apologized. Ling Yuntian gave a careless wave, but his words seemed to say otherwise. Sect leader Bu, we all make mistakes and slip, but as sect leaders, we must remember that while being hasty is one thing, and the value of life is another. I only hope that you will work to correct your impulses. Bu Xingyun shuddered, knowing Ling Yuntian was chiding him, but was forced to nod as Executive Chow gave his version. It should now be Steward Qian's turn. Steward Qian has shown hesitation just now, so you must have a different opinion. Ha ha ha. Ling Yuntian ignored him and gave Zhuo Fan the right to speak with a bright smile, and the chance to turn it around. Bu Xingyun's face sank, but was helpless. Zhuo Fan bowed and looked grateful as he smiled at the smug Executive Chow. Executive Chow was right, but there are a few parts one feel that were left out that leaves room for interpretation. Allow me to fill the gaps. Executive Chow, would you kindly answer me whether or not I was the one who approached you about the spies when I delivered the goods? Have I asked Executive Chow explicitly to go capture the spy? Well? Executive Chow hesitated and Bu Xingyun glared. Spit it out. Did you not insist that he led the witch to us? Why are you stammering then? Yes. Sect leader, when you wanted to learn about this very quickly, I was being concise, thus leaving some random details out. Random? Like? Bu Xingyun glared at him. Executive Chow's lips quivered, not knowing how to say it. Zhuo Fan laughed and bowed. Sect leader Bu, it's better for me to tell what happened in detail. The fault lies with my caravan. On that day, the Central Area spy had set her eyes on us and destroyed one of our carriages. So when we arrived at your sect, we only delivered half. We explained what happened and asked for extra days to bring the rest. Is that right? Bu Xingyun turned to his Executive Chow nodded. Yes, that's exactly right. In other words, isn't it their fault for failing to guard the goods? Bu Xingyun asked with doubt, scratching his head. Executive Chow gave an awkward nod. Zhuo Fan interjected. May I continue? Go ahead. Bu Xingyun found no issue and waved at him to resume, but this in fact helped Zhuo Fan in leaving his own tiny, but crucial, detail. Executive Chow then permitted us to come back with the rest of the goods and we left. Later I heard a huge ruckus and the world shaking with lightning covering the skies. There were shouts as well, but we were so scared we chose to flee at once. Wait, that's not how it went. How then? I couldn't just let you leave when you only gave us half the goods. It's you who said that you have someone following you, and that catching him will earn us a great commendation. Did you not say that these goods are nothing compared to that? Executive Chow rushed to ask. Zhuo Fan nodded after a pause. Yes, and then? Then I let you go. Since we couldn't give you the goods, how come you let us go? What nonsense. What's more important, some lost goods or catching the spy? I let you go to draw him out and then grab him. Did you then? Half the credit is mine. As if. What credit is there to share when up against a sword king? More like share a jail cell. Oh, Executive Chow grunted to a stop. Realizing his slip, Zhuo Fan smirked. Hear that? We were bait. They went to grab the spy. How did we go from being on the same side to becoming a Central Area spy?